morning, 5 o'clock on this Friday morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got 48 degrees now. Some showers ahead for us today. Stick around for the forecast, just coming up after the news. Breaking overnight, China raising its retaliatory levies on U.S. goods to 125%. Beijing signaling this is likely to be the last increase, at least for the moment.
Trump yesterday saying President Xi Jinping is a friend, and he'd like to make a deal.
I just say that I think it's going to work out, hopefully well.
Experts on China tell ABC News Xi is playing hardball, showing his people he can stand up to America while also pursuing a strategy of becoming less reliant on the U.S. One expert saying Trump's trade war is exactly what Beijing has been preparing for.
ABC's Perry Russum reporting crews are searching Percy Priest Lake right now for a missing kayaker. Here's WSMV's Holly Thompson.
Nashville Fire says they were called to the lake around 8:30 last night by a person whose husband was kayaking when those storms rolled through. Well, they told Nashville Fire a strong wind quickly moved in. They could no longer see their husband, and they've not been able to contact them since.
And that search is ongoing. Tennessee is a few votes away from allowing school districts to refuse to enroll illegal immigrant children after it passed the full state Senate yesterday. Channel 4 Stacey Cameron tells us what's next.
So now focus on the undocumented students bill turns to the House, where next week the subcommittee on finance will hold hearings, but the House version still needs to come in line with the Senate version of this bill. Right now, the Senate version says schools have to ask for that documentation showing immigration status, while the House version says it's optional for schools to ask for it. If both of those versions don't get into line, the House and the Senate will have to have a conference committee to figure it all out.
Now, that bill yesterday needed 17 to pass the state Senate. It got 19. 6 Republicans joined Democrats to vote against it. Market Numbers Report now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. And the roller coaster ride on Wall Street continued yesterday.
The Dow gave up more than 1,000 points. The S&P lost 189 points. The Nasdaq sank over 4%, down 738 points. The White House now says Chinese imports will be tariffed at 145%. Inflation fell last month to 2.4%, but the decline happened before President Trump ramped up tariffs. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Well, you're going to like stock futures this morning. Everything's in the green. That's good news, but really not by much. The Dow futures are up 79 points. NASDAQ futures gaining 77. We've got S&P futures up 19. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Quiet start to our Friday morning. No delays to speak of on 24, 65, or on 40. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.505 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. How are you, friends? Thank God it's Friday.
Amen.
Right?
This was
Joan?
a slow week.
Amen.
Was this a slow week or just me?
No, it's just you.
Yeah, this was like, there was so much going on. I felt like it was flying.
And you know what? With all the news that is going on and everything that I have to report, and I have a lot this morning.
Yeah.
It is Stefano DiPietro Day.
Yes.
At Nashville's Morning News. He'll be here at 8:35.
Make that a state holiday, DiPietro Day?
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, we'll all take the weekend off in honor of
I
Stefano
work
DiPietro.
Sundays, so I only get one day off.
Anyway, moving right
You know
along.
what? He texted me this morning to say, can't wait to see you guys.
Really?
Are
Yeah.
we wearing what he has recommended?
No, actually, we're not.
What does he say about ball caps every day of the week to cover a bald
You know what?
head?
He doesn't mention that because he has a nice thick head of hair. So,
Yes.
like, what does he care about yours?
That's his
little
main
ball cap.
That's his main political statement. No hat wearing.
All right, moving right along. Tariff talk, by the way, we have, China, I don't know, Joan, I've got so much going on in here. I did not hear
Yeah.
your newscast.
Of course, I covered it.
So China has now decided they've raised their tariffs to 125%. Trump's tariffs are right now on China 145%. Are we on agreement?
Yes, that's
that where we're at?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. So here's where I'm at on all of this because, and I know the futures are just barely up on this Friday morning, but I'm kind of like where Kevin O'Leary is right now and what he said the other day.
I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, sell it back here.
And absolutely. So you know what he says? Kevin O'Leary wants 400% tariffs. Now, I mentioned this earlier in the week, but I'm going to kind of focus on that for a second because I want you to think about this. Every day, it is like this tit for tat. Xi Jinping has come out now and he's made an official statement, right? So we're going to talk about that too. But every day is like a tit for tat. So this morning, we were coming in, we learned China has upped it now to 125%. And Trump, of course, yesterday, 145%. So I'm just thinking, just go for the jugular, President Trump. Just get it done. And so you raise that because the markets are suffering. And so as the markets are suffering, as, the Dow continues to have issues and the bonds and everything else, then number one is it is starting to stress folks out, obviously. Number two, it's giving the media and the Democrats all kinds of fodder to attack Donald Trump, which I could give two craps about. But the other thing is that the more tit for tat we play, the longer this goes. And Kevin O'Leary is like, you know what? 400%. If we have our tariffs, if we just go ahead and raise it, go for the jugular right now, 400%, then that is going to get Xi Jinping on a plane right now.
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese.
And we're still pissed about COVID and all those Chinese nationals coming across our southern border and the fact that China has not cooperated with any kind of COVID investigations, whether we're talking about the U.S. government, whether we're talking about the WHO, the World Health Organization. They have cooperated with none of them. And so, yeah, I mean, Kevin O'Leary doesn't mention that aspect of it, but I think that there's a lot of people that really are sick and tired of China. And so what O'Leary is saying, and I agree, is screw all this. Go for the jugular right now. And if that means that Donald Trump and his team meets Xi Jinping in a neutral location, then so be it. But again, the longer that this goes, the worse the market gets. So let's end it and end it now.
The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
I actually love that last part.
It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
All right, and I agree. Xi Jinping has now come out and said that his nation is not afraid. In his first public comments since all of this began, the successive imposition of excessively high tariffs on China by the U.S. has become nothing more than a numbers game with no real economic significance. A spokesman for China's Commerce Ministry said in a statement on Friday, and that is just part of the conversation. They also say it merely further exposes the U.S. practice of weaponizing tariffs as a tool of bullying and coercion. I keep just whenever China comes out and China accuses the U.S. of bullying, it just makes my day. Because all you got to do is listen to Kevin O'Leary, who is chest deep in working and doing business in China. But ask anybody else. Ask our own government what China does. I mean, I mentioned, of course, also the spying. I've been talking about that this week, too. They also say China's Xi Jinping breaking his silence on the U.S. trade war mess. This is from CNN. For over 70 years, they say China's development has relied on self-reliance and hard work, never on handouts from others, and it is not afraid of any unjust suppression. Unjust suppression. Okay. See, this is what I'm saying is, you know what? Just go for the jugular, President Trump. Just go for the jugular. Regardless of how the external environment changes, China, he says, will remain confident, stay focused, and concentrate on managing its own affairs well. He called trade wars unwinnable, but made it clear China is not folding, no matter how hot it gets. Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But part of what's going on within the Trump administration, we all know Peter Navarro and we all know Scott Bessent. By the way, did you see this? Joan Jones.
Yes, sir.
How do you like Scott Bessent? Just give me a 1 to 10. How do you like Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary?
I'd probably give him an 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would give him like a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
I like him for a number of different reasons. Number one, dude is wicked smart.
Yes, he is.
Number two is he strikes me as incredibly genuine.
Yes.
Because he's just got the right amount of awkward combined with,
yes.
Right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, he does. Yes.
He's got the right amount of awkward with really, really smart and also really a loyalty to Donald Trump's mission. And despite that awkwardness, I think that he really does do a really good job of explaining what it is that Donald Trump wants to do. He made a speech, actually, that has now gone viral, and I've got a couple of clips on that, and it is straight ahead. It is 5:15 on Nashville's Morning News. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Got a crash. It's on Tulip Grove Road in Hermitage. This is south of Old Lebanon Dirt Road. Careful in that area. But the major roadways heading into Nashville, they're okay so far this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much. As far as the weather for today, for your Friday, a high of 60 today and cloudy. Saturday, a high of 63, partly cloudy. Sunday, a high of 75 and partly cloudy. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There was, I look at so much stuff, and so I apologize. I'll see if I can find the actual story. But I saw something somewhere on X where it showed that Scott Bessent was actually one of the Trump administration officials, cabinet members, who had the highest approval rating. Scott Bessent, as a matter of fact. Apparently higher than Pete Hegseth and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi. And Scott Bessent, at least to me, he does seem to be doing a really good job of implementing what it is that Donald Trump wants to do. Now, in the past couple of days, you've had the battle between Peter Navarro and Elon Musk. Now, most people, most conservatives absolutely love Elon Musk. Well, you had Peter Navarro and Elon Musk. I did talk about this earlier this week, so I don't want to go backwards too much. But those two, Navarro and Musk, have been locked in a debate over tariffs. And Navarro, I believe, clearly lost that very public debate with Elon Musk. And even though you may agree on tariffs, and you've got Elon Musk, who is more of a free trade person, but clearly Peter Navarro is out on the losing end of that discussion with Elon Musk, because now it seems like Navarro is out as far as the main guy that is going to be dealing with and negotiating with these countries, and Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, is going to be taking the lead along with Donald Trump. And so I think where Navarro went wrong is he basically insulted Elon Musk. He insulted Tesla as well. And I think he got a little cavalier, maybe a little too big for his britches. And so you've got Donald Trump, who really likes Elon Musk, despite their differences. And so now you have Trump, who has parked Navarro over to the side a little bit, and Scott Bessent is going to be taking the lead. And most people will tell you that Bessent is incredibly respected across the world for his, economic and financial acumen. This was Scott Bessent. This was yesterday during this much-watched cabinet meeting, as Bessent is talking about all of these countries that are now calling President Trump and wanting to negotiate.
I'd echo what Howard said on the trade queue, that we've got over 75 countries that want to come in. So it'll be Treasury, Commerce, Jameson at USTR, and we're putting a process in place. And as you said, you're going to be part of the negotiations too, because I've had these countries call me up and the Secretary Bessent, we're happy you're going to be negotiating. Said, well, President Trump's going to be involved too.
So that was part of what he said. He made a speech. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent made a speech, and he's talking about how the Trump administration is now looking out for not Wall Street, but Main Street. This is part of what he had to say. This was Bessent talking about that speech, and I've got some audio bites from the speech as well, but this is basically what he said as he's commenting on that speech. Listen.
And then I gave a speech yesterday to 1,400 small and community bankers, and they were so happy to hear from your administration. And I told them Wall Street's done great for the past 4 years, 10 years, 20 years. It can continue doing great, but it's Main Street's turn now, and it's those small bankers through deregulation, through emphasis on Main Street, your Main Street agenda, bringing back jobs, that is going to power the smaller communities.
So you hear what he's saying. So basically what Scott Bessent is saying is that Wall Street having a tough time. We all know what's going on with the markets. But Trump is saying, you know what? We are going to focus on jobs. We are going to focus on, and we can have all of the economic discussions about whether or not the tariffs will lead to more jobs, less jobs, whatever. But what Bessent is saying is that if we can convince countries and companies to move their production and their manufacturing here, then that is overall better for the American people. And what have we seen? What have we seen over the last couple of days? Really, this week, we've had some great economic news. We've had more jobs and less inflation. That is good for Main Street. That is good for the American people. I do understand. Trust me when I say I do understand the issue with our 401ks and all that other stuff. Right now, Donald Trump is focused on jobs and manufacturing here in America, and that is why he is engaged in this tariff war. By the way, Erin sent this to me. I apparently she was listening, and she she heard me struggling about the Scott Bessent approval rating. This is breaking. I don't know. I think this was yesterday. Trump Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent found to hold the highest net approval rating out of Trump's senior officials at plus 14. That is insane and good for Scott Bessent. And again, I do understand why, because he's got an air of authenticity about him that I think that people like, and I think that people trust, just like Donald Trump. All right. By the way, there's a lot more news. I have merely, my friends, scratched the surface of all of the news that I have. By the way, take the Daily Dan poll. If you would, watch us, like us, subscribe, all that stuff on YouTube. The Daily Dan poll is, do you agree with me and Kevin O'Leary? Which is, should we just go ahead and go for the jugular and implement 400% tariffs on China so we can get the tit for tat over with and we could just get her done? So far, KGB, what are people saying?
A majority right now is saying they agree, 80%.
All right, thank you very much. That must mean that I'm right. All right, hey, Joan.
Hey, Dan.
All right, so what's coming up in the news?
Well, a kayaker is missing on a local lake this morning, and there is an active search underway right now. Also, a Hollywood leading man has been diagnosed with an incurable and deadly disease. Those stories coming up here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
527, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And remember this from earlier this week.
We're going to tariff our pharmaceuticals, and once we do that, they're going to come rushing back into our country because we're the big market. The advantage we have over everybody is that we're the big market. So we're going to be announcing very shortly a major tariff on pharmaceuticals, and when they hear that, they will leave China, they will leave other places because they have to sell. Most of their product is sold here.
Well, Trump made that announcement, and here we are with this headline. Swiss pharma company announces $23 billion in U.S. investment, assuming to avoid Donald Trump's tariffs. Pharmaceutical company Novartis announcing plans to build 7 facilities in the United States and expand others in a $23 billion investment over 5 years, on the heels of President Donald Trump's announcement of forthcoming tariffs on imported drugs. The Swiss company revealed the major investment in a press release. They say this commitment enables Novartis to expand on its current manufacturing, research, and technology presence across the country, with 10 facilities, including 7 brand new facilities, creating nearly 1,000 new jobs as Novartis and approximately 4,000 other additional U.S. jobs will be also created. 6 of the facilities will be manufacturing plants, 2 of which will focus on radioligand therapy. I have no idea what that is. In Florida and Texas, it remains to be seen where the other 4 plants will be built. Moreover, the company is establishing a biomedical research innovation center in San Diego as part of that investment, and it is expanding 3 of its production facilities in Indiana, New Jersey, and California. So, yep, that is a big deal, and part of the reason why that's a big deal is because, as you know, a lot of the pharmaceutical ingredients are made in China. So the more that we can manufacture ourselves, clearly, the better. It is 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 5:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Crews are searching Percy Priest Lake overnight and right now after a woman called police and reported her husband disappeared on that lake as the two were kayaking. The man disappearing when the storms with high winds moved into that area last night. On the waters of the Hudson River between New York and New Jersey, crews have recovered a helicopter that fell out of the sky yesterday afternoon.
Witnesses watching in horror as the tragedy unfolded just before 3:30 in the afternoon.
Literally, I just see a helicopter splitting in two with the rotor flying off.
Debris falling from the sky.
And I could see a helicopter falling on its side.
Tour company New York Helicopters operating the flight. The CEO telling ABC News his staff has not stopped crying and they are all devastated by this deadly disaster. In Lower Manhattan, Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
The Secretary of Health and Human Services promising a new push into unraveling a medical mystery.
This morning, a commitment to find possible causes of autism within 6 months.
By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
Health Secretary RFK Jr. promising during the president's cabinet meeting that he will find out why autism rates are rising.
ABC's Andrea Fujii. In 2000, the CDC said autism was being diagnosed in 1 out of every 50 children. Today, it's 1 in 36. A Hollywood leading man now says he is fighting a deadly disease.
Actor Eric Dane says he has been diagnosed with ALS. The 52-year-old plays a dad in the hit show Euphoria, but he's perhaps best known for his role as Mark Sloan on Grey's Anatomy. Dane is married with 2 daughters, and he told People magazine, "I feel fortunate that I am able to continue working, and I'm looking forward to returning to the set of Euphoria next week. I kindly ask that you give my family and I privacy."
That's ABC's Rhiannon Nally. Let's peek at the stock futures this morning. Getting a little better, too. The Dow futures are now up 213. NASDAQ futures positive by 125. And the S&P futures are up by 36 points. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Still have that accident they're dealing with. Oh, this is a new one in Goodlettsville this morning. It's at Long Hollow Pike at I-65 in Goodlettsville. That crash is. Otherwise, this morning, checking out 24, no problems to report. 40 looks fine this morning. And on 65 itself, things are just fine. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.537. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Hey, you guys want to play a game?
Oh, yeah, I love that.
All right, we're going to play a game. I've got 4 video clips, and I have not heard the audio. All right? So 4 video clips. I've not heard the audio. So I'm going to play the audio, and we're just going to react, okay?
Okay.
Because I'm looking at the titles, and they sound rather ridiculous, and so I think that we're just going to play a game. All right, you ready? So here we go. This is the first one having to do with Nancy Pelosi and stocks.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says no to banning congressional lawmakers from trading stock. It was in response to a question about a report that found dozens of members of Congress violated a law meant to stop insider trading and prevent conflicts of interest. Here's what Pelosi said.
Because this is a free market and people, we're a free market economy. They should be able to participate in that.
So, okay, so.
Oh, my God.
Do you remember, and I wish I had the audio handy, but do you remember when now I know why this is a thing today, because the Democrats are accusing Donald Trump of insider trading. We'll get into that. I wish I had the audio. Do you remember, Joan, when Nancy Pelosi was asked about, insider trading, the accusations about NVIDIA, and how she and her husband had clearly inside information, and so she would be buying or selling stock. I don't remember all the details, but she would buy and sell NVIDIA stock, and she had inside information literally as a member of Congress. And so she was buying and selling that stock based on things that were happening within Congress that were not information that the rest of America would know. And so that comes, of course, that story is now in the news today because, Joan, the Democrats are now accusing Donald Trump of insider trading.
Yeah, you want to hear how the Wall Street Journal,
ABC News?
How ABC News frames this this morning? Okay, here it is. Oh, good job, Joan. Hold on.
Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene brought high-profile stocks last week when the markets tanked after President Trump slapped on tariffs. Some of the stocks were down 40%. Lawmakers from both parties have proposed bills banning members from stock trading.
Now,
wait a minute.
Hold
the
on.
hypocrisy.
Right. Didn't he? He said, hey, it's a great time to buy. But
all Donald Trump said was it's a great time to buy.
That's it.
He didn't even say specifically what to buy.
No. So where's the insider trading? Where's the inside information?
Right.
There is no information. And he said that the report said that she bought well-known stocks or whatever, right? Stocks that people know.
Yeah.
So I don't really, Democrats, is this really the card you want to play?
So when Nancy Pelosi puts like millions of dollars into a chip company before a vote on chips, that's water under the bridge.
A little bit different.
Oh yeah,
a little different.
Yeah.
God, the Crypt Keeper strikes again.
It is stunning that the Democrats continue with these kind of clearly losing arguments. Do you know what the thing is, though, Joan?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that, and this is what gets so frustrating, is that they're protected. Just like Joe Biden was protected by the media.
Yeah.
people like Nancy Pelosi, I guess there's audio out there somewhere of AOC accusing the Republicans and Donald Trump of insider trading, calling for investigations because Trump literally said, now is a great time to buy. It's just dumb. And by the way, everybody knew that it was a great time to buy. You buy the dip. Duh. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to hear another one?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. This is Democrat Representative Jahana Hayes, and she says that she regrets one of her votes. Listen to this. The Laken-Riley Act. This is a Democrat.
As I've thought about it over the last couple months, I probably would have voted differently. It's a vote that I regret, but coming into this Congress, I trusted that this administration, we would have some, if they wanted to have border security, they wanted to work with Democrats, that we could actually move forward. I'm not really sure of that.
So she regrets voting for the Laken-Riley Act. And so then it makes you wonder, gee, I wonder why Democrats are at, what is their latest approval rating? Is it 21%? I think that's what it is, right? 21% is where the Democrats are. And so this is, and I don't know where this Jahana Hayes is, but this was a town hall on CNN. But isn't that insane?
They just keep going further to the left. We can't even see them anymore. They're so far off of that side that like you have to get binoculars to see them.
Well, you know what? Here's the deal: is that they're not where the American people are, and so they continue to not pay attention. Read the room. You know, reading the room. Obviously, we all know what reading the room is.
Yeah.
And so they're not reading the room. Because, man, if you read the room, I mean, we can all debate over tariffs and whether or not this is a good idea, Wall Street versus Main Street, which is a conversation we had in the first segment. But the bottom line is, when it comes to illegal immigration and the Laken-Riley Act and border security and all of that, isn't it obvious the room that is the United States actually likes what Donald Trump is doing? And so when you have a Democrat that comes out and she says, "Oh, I regret that vote." Okay, I'm reasonably certain
that's incredible
that somebody is going to bring that up if there's a more moderate Democrat that does try to primary her. But do you think here would be my question? In the midterm elections in the House of Representatives, of course, there's always an election every 2 years. Do you think that in Congress, in the House of Representatives, do you think the more moderate Democrats are going to be primaried by the nut jobs, or do you think that that the moderates will be primaried by another nut job, by a nut job? In other words, in the House of Representatives, will they continue to go further left? Did you have a prediction? Will they continue to go further left, or will they try to become more moderate?
I don't see a path for them becoming moderate. Their followers are all loopy to the nth degree. And I think that's where their public, their voters are pushing them.
Yep.
Anybody who was moderate in the Democrat Party is now a Republican.
Or they consider themselves independent.
Independent, sure. Yeah.
I always look at it like this. Remember when Lori Lightfoot, the Chicago mayor?
Yeah.
When she left and the guy came in, he's even worse.
Yeah.
So they got rid of a loony lefty to bring back in a more loony lefty.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the same in now a national stage.
They're like cockroaches.
I mean, I think, honestly, at least the guy looks a little better than Lori Lightfoot. Like, at least there's something to look at compared to her.
Joan?
Sure, I'll go with that.
And then there's...
She's ugly.
Lori, we got that. We got that.
Had to be blunt.
Yeah, but he's crazier than her.
Exactly, but at least like he looks like a human.
Okay. Jasmine Crockett is in the news today, and listen to what she says about demanding a mental acuity test of Donald Trump.
The fact that no one is questioning his mental acuity or fitness to serve is beyond wild to me, right? Like the fact that they sat around, called Joe Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, and as I said before, at least you could sleep at night because you didn't have to worry about your 401k disappearing overnight. You didn't have to worry about these allegations of fake invasions. You didn't have to worry about the cost of food just skyrocketing or
All right, so
Wait, fake invasion? What's she talking about?
I was stuck on that. I'm stuck on that. Like, what is
the
a fake
immigration? Is she talking about immigration?
Oh, maybe.
That is
she doesn't
absolutely an invasion.
Exactly. So I think and she's like, yeah, we didn't go to sleep about our 401k. We were worried about going to World War III.
The dumbassery of the Democrat Party just never stops.
A man with a very few brain cells had the code to the nuclear devices that this country has. Like, honestly, how ridiculous is that statement?
Well, it is obviously ridiculous. And okay, so during the Biden administration, were we worried about our 401ks? To be candid, we're always worried about our 401ks. But what we were worried about, and we were sort of stuck on that invasion comment, but she also talked about not being able to afford groceries. Are you kidding me? Where were you, Jasmine Crockett, that 4 years? Of course we were worried about the cost of groceries. So she's just, the more that she talks, and again, we're listening to this all for the first time and just reacting.
As I said before, at least you could sleep at night because you didn't have to worry about your 401k disappearing overnight. You didn't have to worry about these allegations of fake invasions. You didn't have to worry about the cost of food just skyrocketing.
Yeah, we weren't worried about the cost of food skyrocketing, were we?
Please run for president.
It was skyrocketing, so it didn't.
Exactly. Exactly.
By the way, the president has his physical examination today.
Yes, he does. Yeah. He does.
In Bethesda.
He won't fall getting there also.
He what?
He won't fall getting there
no,
also.
He won't.
Like
no.
a certain someone we knew.
All right, here's more from Jasmine Crockett.
Or skyrocketing cost of all of your electronics. You know, the fact that Apple was flying in planes of iPhones before the tariffs hit, like this is crazy work for no reason. So, you know, I just hope.
For no reason.
Hold on. She's worried about Apple iPhones being flown in while there were illegal immigrants being flown in with Joe Biden.
Yeah, okay. Do you know, you're right, Joan, absolutely. And there's news on that. Do you know the news today about that whole thing? What came out last night?
Oh, no.
Oh, listen at 6. Listen at 6:06. Okay. I'm gonna talk about that because there has been a discovery from Doge. We'll talk about that straight ahead. But let's listen to more Jasmine.
That people remember. Because seemingly they got amnesia the first time. And so you've got opportunities to vote. And I will tell you that every single special election we've had, Democrats are swinging no less than 15 points. But honestly, we should be swinging 30 and 40 points because of the level of incompetence and harm that this administration is bringing upon all of us.
Wow.
The pot calling the kettle black, eh?
So incompetence and the harm to Americans. Has anybody died yet? As aside from the Houthi rebels, by the way?
Not that I know of.
So who's dying? Houthi rebels and, probably some bad guys somewhere. But who's being deported? Illegal alien gangbangers, all right? And by the way, there's news on that today, too. I'll get into it in 6. But it just clearly she's just, and that was on the Chris Hayes show. And over there is he on MSNBC? I think he's on MSNBC. Yeah, I'm not entirely certain. But anyway, so there is, and I think I've got one more, but I'm running rapidly out of time. Beetlejuice. Okay, so here's what's funny. You know where I'm going, KGB, right?
Yes.
So KGB said that Lori Lightfoot looked subhuman.
She's ugly.
She's ugly. And I was trying to think of, because I made this comment a long time ago, that she looked like Beetlejuice.
Oh, yeah.
And which, by the way, the most overrated movie of all time. And so, but I was trying to, in my mind, remember, what was that movie? Of course, because I've got Biden brain disease at some time. I couldn't remember. Thank you, 3662, for reminding me that it was Beetlejuice. All right, real quick, one more. I don't have the time to do it now. You know what? How much time will I have? If I take my break actually on time, we're going to talk about, we got one more one more piece of audio that we'll do right before the news that has to do with the news media. And we'll have fun with that straight ahead. And I have heard that one.
As long as it's not Jasmine Crockett, I think we're good.
5:50, Nashville's Morning News. And Joan Jones, what's coming up in the news at 6?
We got a close call for a Nashville family during last night's storms. Also, the Tennessee legislature advances a bill dealing with kids in the U.S. illegally. We've got that story and more coming up here at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTEN.
.54. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. By the way, missives very quickly from the Super Text line, which I am looking at, 615-737-9986. KGB looks exhausted this morning. Joan Jones looks as bubbly as she does every morning. And Dan is just Dan.
I think that describes it well.
What does that mean, Dan is just Dan? I basically look the same every morning.
Well,
Like
That's his point.
right.
Yeah, like Matt Murphy made fun of me one time because I only ever wear dark clothing, and I'm basically down to one hat
You should
now.
brighten up your wardrobe. Get some yellows in there, some blues.
Do you need a new hat, buddy?
No, I don't need a new hat.
Oh, that's the mother of the show right there.
It's just, I like that. Whatever, moving right along. Okay, so we were talking about, oh, by the way, do you know what I've done for Stefano DiPietro at
Did you bring your galoshes?
Did not bring my galoshes.
Ah, darn.
But I actually, because, I stress out over stupid stuff. Like, I can turn on the microphone and literally talk for 4 hours, no problem whatsoever, and I've done it many times. Why am I stressed out over Stefano DiPietro coming into the radio station?
It's a celebrity. We have a celebrity coming in today.
That's what it is. He's a celebrity.
Because you're a fanboy.
We can't get Mel Gibson, but we can get Stefano DiPietro.
I will admit, although I appreciate his immense talent as a weatherologist,
Meteorologist.
Weatherologist. I'm a fanboy of his hair.
Yeah.
So I went to Grok, and I grokked what are great questions to ask a weatherologist. I know, it's a meteorologist. Oh, my God. You know what I had to do when he comes in? I had to just say, so when you were young, what made you decide to become a weatherologist? And just keep calling him a weatherologist and see if he actually corrects me.
Why are we trying to mess with him? We have
I think that would be, Joan, would that be funny?
Sure, Dan.
I love all
You go for
Dan,
it.
but Dan, all our ideas for the last couple of days have been to mess with the guy, not ask him real questions. It's just to mess with
You know
him.
what? I love that he's coming in.
Kenny on the super text line wants to know if he's part of the mob.
Oh, he's got that look, doesn't he?
He does, and he's from Philly, so, could be.
Stefano, you been down to the docks lately? You take anybody out lately? Where is Jimmy Hoffa?
When I worked in Philly, way back, like when I was first doing radio in Philadelphia, I was filling in for a longtime reporter, like somebody who had been there for forever.
Yeah.
And doesn't a stupid mob hit happen like while I'm on duty? So now I have to go out to a street in Philadelphia and witness this man laying in the street who had just been shot by the mob.
Yeah.
It was Michael Cingolini, if anybody
That's
remembers
a mob
that.
name if I've heard one.
Yeah. Yep.
Cingolini.
But I learned at that point when I was there, like one of the anchors that I watched all the time on Philadelphia television, he came to the scene and he's doing his stand-up hit, and the camera is looking at him from the waist up, of course. He's got his jacket on, suit jacket, shirt. He looked very nice. Waist down, he had on shorts and flip-flops. I was like, what is this?
Okay, so maybe one of the questions that we ask Stefano DiPietro is, when you're on camera doing your weatherologist stuff, do you come in at times in shorts and flip-flops?
Well, you can say, go ahead, ask him that, but he
Oh, I never actually watched.
Yeah, you can see his pants, but every once in a while he backs up far enough that you can see he wears, I think, sneakers with his suit.
Well, that's kind of the new style these days.
Yeah.
Is you wear sneakers with your whatever. All right, very quickly,
Yeah.
Chuck Todd, and this is what he said. I think this was yesterday or the day before.
The only thing I can chalk it up to is this, whatever you want to call it, this fear that some members of the media had sometimes that they would be perceived as helping Trump if they somehow diminished Biden, right? That it was some sort of zero-sum game. And I think this has been the fundamental mistake that many members of the traditional press have done.
So that was Chuck Todd admitting the media destroyed itself when they were protecting Joe Biden. And the reason they protected Joe Biden is because they were afraid, according to Chuck Todd, of helping Donald Trump. That, of course, led to their credibility being absolutely destroyed. And, I mean, their media's approval rating is like right there with Congress. And that's one of the big reasons why. It is 6 o'clock. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 6 o'clock now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. It's a great time to get out on the roads. There are no delays to speak of this morning on 24, 40, or 65 heading in. We've got more in traffic and weather right after the news. A Nashville family feeling blessed today after a tree fell into their home during last night's storms. Nashville Fire saying crews responded to that home on Abbey Drive last night to find that tree fell right through the roof. Nobody was hurt, though. The American Red Cross on hand to help that family. Tennessee is a few votes away from allowing school districts to refuse to enroll illegal immigrant children. Channel 4's Stacey Cameron.
Who sponsored the bill, argued it's a money issue, claiming undocumented students cost Tennessee schools at least $35 million a year. But 6 of Watson's Republican colleagues turned against the bill, joining Democrats who say it's morally wrong to deny children an education, saying this bill is punishing kids for their parents' choice to come to the U.S. illegally.
Now the focus turns to the House, where next week the Subcommittee on Finance will hold hearings. Another school district is moving toward another layer of safety for students and staff.
Channel 4 says the Rutherford County School Board voted Wednesday night to approve metal detectors. The Rutherford County Commission will now have to approve funding for it. Channel 4 says that money's going to come from an extra $4 million the district received from the state because of its excellent performance. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
New information about the release of a ballerina who held dual citizenship in Russia and the U.S. Ksenia Karlina is back on U.S. soil, and we know now that this was a prisoner swap. Russia got Arthur Petrov back. ABC's James Longman on Petrov.
He was arrested in Cyprus in 2023 because he had set up a fake company to buy microelectronic components from the United States and pretend that they were for commercial use. I think it was a fire safety company and a security company he was saying that these items were for, when actually he was working with two Russians to sell these back to the Russian military.
And Ksenia was in prison for donating $52 to a Ukrainian charity. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Stocks lost ground in Thursday's trading. The Dow gave up 1,015 points. The S&P lost 189 points. The Nasdaq sank over 4%, down to 738 points. Inflation is cooling. Prices fell last month to 2.4%, but the decline happened before President Trump ramped up tariffs. Prada Fashion Group has agreed to buy rival fashion house Versace. The deal is worth $1.4 billion. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Now, if the trend holds on, this will be a nice open on Wall Street. The Dow futures right now are plus 245. NASDAQ futures up 137. S&P futures up 37 points. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, it's just one crash this morning, Long Hollow Pike in Goodlettsville, right at I-65. But it's not affecting traffic on I-65 itself. Things are moving okay there. A little bit slow on 24 as you merge into 40. Otherwise, fine on that area, too. And no problems on 40 itself. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.606 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, the 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Happy Friday to you. It is April 11th of 2025. And Joan, you were playing a little piece there about this bill going through the Tennessee State Legislature.
Yeah, right.
To allow school districts to either not allow illegal alien kids to go to their school or charge them a certain amount of money to go to the school and so forth. Can you play that little piece again?
Yeah, sure. Hang on.
Senator Watson, who sponsored the bill, argued it's a money issue, claiming undocumented students cost Tennessee schools at least $35 million a year. But 6 of Watson's Republican colleagues turned against the bill, joining Democrats who say it's morally wrong to deny children an education, saying this bill is punishing kids for their parents' choice to come to the U.S. illegally.
All right, so $36 million, they say, and I do wonder if, because I'm just going to be honest, I understand what people are saying about this. You know, constitutionally, critics say it's an assault on the rights of all kids to a free education, as mandated by Plyler versus Doe. This is going to be challenged and so forth. It's going to make its way through the courts. But, you know, here's the thing. It would authorize public school districts and public private charter schools to refuse to enroll students who are here illegally or, again, charge them with a fine. You know how much they say? $400 million a year. This is the number that I've seen. The state of Tennessee pays around $400 million a year for these kids to be educated. The costs are, they say, is simply a rough estimate. But, you know, here's the thing. Because I get that we all are very anti-illegal immigration. We are pro-legal immigration, but we are anti-illegal immigration. Phil Valentine used to always say, and I absolutely agree, we need to demagnetize America. According to a Rutherford County resolution, the average annual cost of educating an ESL student is $3,500 higher than for other students. Tennessee's Department of Education reports more than 83,000 ESL students are enrolled in the current school year, nearly doubling the 43,000 reported in the 2015 and 2016 school year. KGB, take the phones off hold. Take the phones off hold. So we all know that we need to demagnetize America. We all agree on that. But would you agree to a compromise? I'm taking phone calls, 615-737-9986. And I'm going to ask a question. Maybe we say, okay, if you are already here, we will educate your kids, even if you are an illegal alien, because you came here, you knew the policy, and you came here to get your kids educated and take advantage of America, blah, blah, blah. But do we say, we'll educate your kids, but beginning on, I don't know, April 12th of 2025, if you come into this country illegally, know that your kids will not be educated by the United States of America for free. In other words, is there a compromise? We educate the kids that are already here, but anyone coming after a certain date, no, because you came here knowing that your kids would not be educated. Is there room for compromise? 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Now, let me throw a couple of things out here. Number one is Joe Biden, as you know, absolutely obliterated our border and everything Donald Trump did. So this problem has been exacerbated by the Democrats. Trump's border protection has helped a lot of this, of course. But do you know where MS-13 actually does a lot of their recruiting? In the schools. Yes, you're right. I've reported on this often. MS-13 does a lot of their reporting and a lot of their recruiting in schools. So these guys come over here, sometimes as kids, and I'm putting that in air quotes, sometimes as kids, they end up in our schools and they start recruiting. And we're paying for that. We are paying for that. And I know that not all of them, obviously, are MS-13 gangbangers, but it's actually a very small amount. But still, thanks to Biden, it is a growing problem. And so now we find ourselves in a situation where, here in the state of Tennessee, where, okay, so if we're not going to demagnetize America, and we'll see what happens ultimately at the Supreme Court, but we should at the very least try to demagnetize Tennessee. And here's the other thing. I like how they are leaving it up to each individual school district. So is there room for compromise? Would you be okay saying, all right, so if you're already here, then what we'll do is we'll educate your kids, but beginning at a certain date, no more. If there is even a way to do that. But anyway, demagnetizing America is what we need to do. And ultimately, if we as a nation said, beginning on April 12th of 2025, if you try to come in after that, if for some reason we even let you in, no, kids will not be educated or educated for free. Because I get it. We spend a crap ton of money on illegal alien kids. And oftentimes it is to the detriment of kids that are already here. I mean, we've spoken before about how many of the various language are spoken in Rutherford County. I forget how many it was, but it was a lot of languages spoken in Rutherford County. And you know what? I blame the Democrats for this because while it was always an issue, it wasn't as much of an issue until what Joe Biden did. So this is the fault of Joe Biden. And now here we are, once again, the state of Tennessee trying to clean up the issues and the actions of the Democrats. 615-737-9986. Brian is in Thompson Station. Brian, is there room for compromise here?
Good morning, Dan. Look, the way I see it, they're bleeding us dry financially with tax fraud. They're bleeding us dry in the medical front, in the emergency room, going in, getting services, not paying for it, and it's even making it hard for us to get an appointment. They knew when they came here that it was illegal for them to do so.
Yep.
And I just do not feel it's right for taxpayer dollars to go towards interpreters and bringing all that riffraff and lowering. It's like a brain drain. It's lowering our kids' intelligence. And I think that if they're here in the school with this law, is willing to charge them for the interpreter and maybe have a separate class to where it doesn't bring us down, then I'm okay with it.
All right. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. More of your calls coming up next. 615-737-9986. The super text line, somebody has a great point, and I'm going to bring that up. Coming up next, it is time to check the roads on WTN.
Looking good this morning. Goodlettsville, Long Hollow Pike, there's an accident clearing at 65. No problems coming in on 65 or 24. No unusual delays on 40 or 440. 840 running accident free. I'm Christy O'Brien.
As far as your weather today, it's going to be cloudy, 60 degrees. On Saturday, a high of 63, partly cloudy. Sunny on Sunday. I should say Sunday, a high of 75 and partly cloudy. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. 7429 says, Dan, I can appreciate, Dan, I can hear it in his typing. Well, Dan, I can appreciate you trying to demagnetize Tennessee, but all you're doing is starting or giving them a time frame for rushing a bunch of illegal immigrants into the state of Tennessee. And I get it. And he says a compromise, a strong hell no from me. This is Jeff calling from Dixon County on WTN. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, good morning, Dan. I've talked to everybody except you and Chad on the radio, so I figured it was time for me to call in.
Oh, thanks for calling in.
Thanks. I have a different feeling on that because there is no other crime in the country that the children get special consideration from. So the parents committed a crime knowing their children were going to pay for it. So I say no, we do not make an exception because we do not make an exception for any other crime regarding the children. If the children want an education, they need to go back home. And I'm sorry it sounds kind of tough, but it's taken away from our own children when these kids are coming into our own schools, taking away the time that our children need for education.
All right, Jeff. Great point. Thank you for your call. This is Patrick in Lebanon on WTN. Hey, Patrick, go ahead.
Hey, Dan. So the only compromise in my mind actually comes down to financial. And I think it's actually a nuance in this bill, which is schools can charge tuition to the parents of undocumented children. At the end of the day, if we're going to educate them, then they need to pay into the system. And if there's not paying into the system, there is no education. It's that simple.
All right, Patrick, thanks for the call very much. I'm trying to fit in as many calls as possible. Billy is on line 4 on WTN. Hey, Billy.
Morning. I say absolutely no compromise because, I mean, we all know why they're here for all the handouts and the freebies and all the stuff that they get. We blame Democrats for it all, but Republicans have to have a responsibility in this too because if you just cut off all the freebies, they will deport themselves. That's why they're here. If they couldn't get why they're here, they would go back on their own. That's the way I feel about it.
I mean, Billy, you're right. I mean, here's the deal. The more reasons we give folks to come here, the more are going to try to come. And here's the problem. We can't always, obviously, control who ends up in the White House. We have more of a control over what happens in our own state with our state legislature and our governor and so forth. And so then the question becomes, all right, well, you know what? We try to find this case. We try to create a case that will ultimately end up in front of the Supreme Court. And I think that's what we're trying to do here in Tennessee. Betty is in Hendersonville on WTN. Hello, Betty.
Good morning, Dan. Happy Friday.
Yes, you too.
No, because what gets compromised is the quality of my children and grandchildren's education. So absolutely not. I'm not opposed to the idea of if they want to pay tuition, but that tuition better encompass all of the associated costs, free lunches, lunches and interpreters and special books printed in a different language, the whole enchilada, baby. Otherwise, no, don't compromise my children, my grandchildren's quality of education because of people who, I'm sorry, broke the law.
All right, Betty, thank you very much for the call. Darren's in Brentwood on WTN. Darren, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Betty 100%. Zero compromise. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's about time that Republicans quit dancing around the issue of the libtards not taking responsibility and or being prosecuted for the crimes that they're committing by allowing these illegals in. We need to get them out, period, end of story, and then they can come back legally and try to come in this country the correct way.
Well, and that's why, Darren, and I appreciate it, that's why Trump is trying to get folks to self-deport by saying if you self-deport and then try to come in the right way, then we'll definitely take a look. But if you get deported, then you're not going to be able to come back. If you self-deport, yes. This is that Isaiah on line 1? Isaiah, hi.
Hey, good morning. Everybody's making some great points, and I'm a big no on this too. I think if they're going to be here, they ought to pay for something. Someone mentioned about the tutors, and it's not just Hispanics. We're talking Asian, we're talking Indian. It's all across the board. But here's the one thing that no one talks about is that in these countries, they only give free education to a certain grade level, and then after that, you got to start paying in their own countries, and we're talking to their own citizens. So at the end of the day, we have some major reforms to do here, even for our own, because there are a lot of people taking advantage of the system as it is that are legal, let alone the illegal.
All right, Isaiah, thank you very much for the call. Brian, you've got the last word on this. Brian, go ahead in Nashville.
Hey, how you doing today? Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
What I feel is, yes, you come in here illegally, you need to go back to your country, get the right stuff, and come back. I think America is a great country. I think our president is doing the best job he can with all the stuff they've been throwing at, the Democrats have been throwing at him, and I think they need to fix it. We need to teach American people first. But, nowadays, a lot of things you have to know how to speak Spanish. Or, we watch TV and it's like everything's in Spanish. We're like, this is not what America was. When I was younger, it was, you go to school and you learn American history. You learn about, rights and wrong about being a kid and learning that kind of stuff and actually learning at school. Now they don't even teach that. And they teach a lot of Spanish. And it's good to learn another language. I never did. But remove these people. Say, hey, here you do. This is what you need to do. Go back to your country. And then come back, and then then you could come in and do everything. But you got to pay the taxes like we all do. I pay my taxes. You pay your taxes. I pay I'm in Rutherford County, so I pay my taxes. I know where my taxes are going. And, I want that education to go to American people who live here who pay taxes, not somebody that's sneaking in.
All right, Brian, thank you very much for the call. I appreciate it. So I don't think we had one person that said, yes, they would compromise. By the way, I'm with everybody else. No compromise. 622 on Nashville's Morning News. Joan Jones. By the way, coming up, Joan, before your newscast at 6:30, I've got, I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened with Chris Hand in his accident.
Oh, good.
All right. So
a little update?
Little bit.
Okay.
It's all coming up straight ahead. Joan, what's up?
All right. So the Supreme Court tightens the screws on the Trump administration with a particular ruling last night. Also, we're learning who was on board that tour helicopter that crashed in the Hudson River yesterday. Those stories and more coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here, 622 on Super Talk. I want to tell you about my carpet cleaning company, Zero Res. I've been a client of Zero Res for years and years. One of the big reasons why is that they really do help my allergies. Now, I have terrible allergies, always have. Carpet is the #1 air filter inside your home. Now, it filters out airborne particulates, pollen, bacteria, name it. Zero Res is going to filter out the bad stuff so you can keep your filter and your home clean. And Zero Res does this better than anyone. They don't use any harsh chemicals, no harsh soaps either. Just powered water that leaves behind soft and fluffy carpets. Now, remember, a clean filter means a healthier home. And here in allergy season, that is critical for you and your family. They haven't raised their prices in years. Zero Res, every single month, they do offer a new way to save you money. And right now, 2 rooms of carpets cleaned is only $109. Plus, they're also going to give you a free hallway and 25% off of area rugs. 2 rooms of carpet that's cleaned for only $109. Plus, you're going to get a free hallway as well. 25% off of area rugs. It is the Dan deal. Call them at 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. Book online, ZeroResNashville.com. .625, Nashville's Morning News. You've probably been looking for cars, and you see the words buy here, pay here, and it makes you think, this is not a place I want to go. And I get it. most of those dealers, they do have really bad reputations. I'm here to tell you there is one of these places you can go, Nolensville Road Auto Mart. Now, they're different for a few simple reasons. They've been doing business in Nashville for 61 years. They're Nashville natives that only sell clean title cars under $12,000. Now, if you're new to town, you need a place to trust, they got you. And if you need a first car for a 16-year-old, well, they're going to do that too. Now, you don't need to take my word for it. The Google reviews are excellent, and that's saying something for a car dealership. One location on Nolensville Road, close to Thompson Lane. They'll get you in and out in an hour or less. And the best part, they're the oldest buy here, pay here in Nashville. And they work with your own financing as well, if you have it. Flexibility, transparency, honesty. That is why I endorse Nolensville Road Auto Mart. Find them online, automartcars.com, automartcars.com. .628, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Okay, so State Rep Scott Sapicki was on with Murphy's show yesterday. Remember what happened with Chris Hand, right?
Yeah.
He's driving along, 24 westbound. Guy hits him from behind, doesn't speak English, no driver's license. And we were all perplexed. It's like, how is it possible dude was just allowed to drive away? This is what Scott Sapicki said.
So this is what was explained to me from the Department of Safety. If you are involved in an accident and you don't have a driver's license with you, if you say, I have a driver's license, they have the ability to run that through the DMV real quickly when they go back to their car, and they will cite you a citation for not having a driver's license.
Okay.
They can do it really quickly with the Department of Revenue on insurance. They know they can go back to their car and run all that. If you do not have a driver's license, that's a misdemeanor in the state of Tennessee. It is up to the discretion of the THP trooper on whether or not it rises to the level of, I'm going to detain you and take you in. That is the flexibility that we give our troopers who are trained to look at these situations on an individual basis.
And just to make sure I understand what you're saying if you don't have one at all?
It's up to them.
I mean, that's stunning to me. That is stunning. So then the question is, well, how is this even allowed?
Now, if he did not have a driver's license through the system, okay, now that's where legislation comes in, right? Okay, do we need to talk to the Department of Safety and figure out how we're going to solve it?
Yes. Yes, we do need to figure out legislation to make sure that this is not allowed in the state of Tennessee. 6:30 on WTN.
Good morning. It's 6:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. In a unanimous ruling from the Supreme Court last night, the Trump administration was ordered to facilitate the return of that man from Maryland mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador. Apparently, the administration's mistake was deporting him to El Salvador and not to a different country.
The facts of this case have not been contested. The government, of course, admitted its mistake. But what they had been saying is that they couldn't be ordered to return him. They were effectively trying to wipe their hands of this individual's case. He was slated for removal from the United States, just not to El Salvador. And they were attempting to say, well, it is what it is, but the Supreme Court unanimously said that can't be the case. He needs to be returned.
ABC's Devin Dwyer. Now, the Rutherford County School Board has denied admission for one student and paused a decision on a second. Both were previously expelled from other districts for making threats. The school board will take up the case of that second student at their next meeting on April 24th. A little boy who had been reported missing from Memphis yesterday has now been found dead. 5-year-old Caden Nolan was being watched by his aunt, who fell asleep and lost track of the boy. He's got a form of autism. Caden was found in a body of water at his aunt's apartment complex. The NTSB and the FAA are now investigating after a tour helicopter crashed into the Hudson River yesterday. Overnight, the wreckage was pulled out of the water. This man witnessed the crash.
You see a helicopter splitting in two with the rotor flying off in the sky. It was going so fast and just went straight into the water, and like nothing came up afterwards. It must have just sunk.
Now on board, a family of 5. It was Spain's CEO of technology company Siemens and his wife and 3 children. Everyone was killed, including the chopper pilot. Quick peek at the stock futures this morning. Dow futures up 70, NASDAQ futures gaining 41, S&P futures are plus 11. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Dan Mandis here for a Friday. Can you take the power of your home internet almost anywhere? Well, with Xfinity, you can. Do more of what you love in the places you go the most with internet and mobile together. Xfinity has built a network that's 99.99% reliable. Plus, Xfinity Mobile has Wi-Fi Power Boost, giving you the ultra-fast Wi-Fi at home and on the go. Get the same reliable network in the places you need it most, like at the coffee shop, in line at the grocery store, or at the game. All to power more of what you love, whether you're a gamer, streamer, or working from home. Now through April 17th, get 300 megabit Xfinity Internet and 1 unlimited mobile line together for $30 a month for 1 year with no annual contract, and save $1,000 in your first year over Verizon and AT&T. Plus, ask us how to get a free premium 5G phone. Find them online, Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon 5G Internet plus 1 unlimited welcome line and AT&T Internet 300 plus 1 unlimited starter SL line. Xfinity Internet. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary. Well, we had some rain last night, and we've had a lot of rain the last several days and weeks. You got to go down into your crawl space, maybe your basement, and check to see if you've got any moisture down there, because if you do, then you need to call my friends at USS. They are experts in waterproofing, among other things, concrete leveling and foundation repair as well. But look, they've done a lot of work for me. United Structural Systems. I am one of 30,000 satisfied customers. And listen to this recent review on Google. Guy says that USS was highly professional. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish. They treated his home as if they were working on their own home. And yeah, he does give USS 5 stars all the way. Now, they're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs, and you're not going to pay a dime until the work is done, and you are a satisfied customer. So yes, they can help with basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, and foundation repair, among many other things. We guarantee our best. Call USS 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, USSTN.com.
Well, we've got some delays this morning on 24 heading in now. It's starting to just stack up after the Laverne area this morning. There's also a crash at Hickory Hollow Parkway at Una Antioch Pike. This is in Antioch. Capitol View, eastbound 40, the off-ramp to Church Street, exit 209A. There's a crash on the off-ramp, and it is partially blocked. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTM.
.638 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Programming alert to Stefano DiPietro is going to be here at 8:35.
Yep.
Going to hang out. Channel 4's weatherologist.
Oh, gosh.
And looking forward to...
He's a meteorologist.
I'm going to call him a weatherologist and just see if he's, polite enough not to correct me.
They're no longer going to do our weather after this, are they?
People are like, Dan, just let KGB and Joan ask the questions. Don't embarrass yourself. Whatever.
I mean, if the shoe fits,
Guy sent me a note on the illegal immigration, the kids thing. But he started off the text with, you don't look as you sound. And I always wonder if that's a compliment or not. I'm reasonably certain that it's not. Wow. But do you ever get that, Joan? Joan,
yeah.
You don't. I thought you would look completely different.
I always, yes. I think of it as not a compliment.
Yeah, because it's either you sound worse or you sound better. There's
no way that's a compliment either way.
Compliment.
All right. Anyway, there's and that last topic, by the way, people are saying that we should tape that, which we tape everything, and send it to the Tennessee State Legislature.
Oh,
where everybody, I don't think, including, by the way, your humble host, everybody said no compromise on the illegal alien kids. And somebody brought up a great point, which is, look, if they can spend $10,000 on a coyote to, get them into this country, then they can afford to pay something to help pay for the cost of educating their illegal alien kids. And I know that it sounds cold-hearted, and I do understand that, but at the same time, the reality is that just like China, our country has been taken advantage of for years from all of these people that are coming from all over the world now and coming into our country, obviously, particularly thanks to Joe Biden.
However, if you watch the local news, you would think that the backlash against this legislation is huge because every day, Channel 4, Channel 2, all they do is focus on the protesters and the children that come out and say it's not fair to other children. They're my friends.
Oh, be it. Well, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, those
are the dry erase board protesters, Joan.
Yeah. Well, just don't be swayed by what you see on TV because I feel like it's not real. They're presenting an alternative reality.
I mean, obviously the protesters are real, but there's a certain contingent in this state that they basically protest everything the Republican state legislature does.
Yes.
So I'd be willing to bet if you look closely, whether they're protesting guns, whether they're protesting, cracking down on illegal immigration, whatever it might be, you probably see the same groups and you probably see the same protesters no matter what the issue is that they're protesting. And when I say, just so people know, when I say a dry erase board protester, that means that every day they wake up and they have a dry erase board and they just write in what they're protesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they want to because they don't do anything. Maybe their job is working for George Soros and just protesting, conservatives in the state legislature. So anyway, moving right along. Joan, the House of Representatives, we've been talking about this big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
So now they've passed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about damn time. But what Trump had to get involved again, right? I don't know.
I
don't know if you know that, but Trump had to get involved.
Well, they had to make some tweaks too.
Yeah, they did. Well, remember, there's a big difference. There was the Senate, and I've been harping on this all week.
Yeah.
Senate only wanted $4 billion in cuts, and the Republicans in the House of Representatives, people like Scott DesJarlais and John Rose and others, they want $2 trillion in cuts. So now the House of Representatives, they have passed this. This is the bill that has all these Donald Trump priorities. And John Rose, of course, is, he's running for governor, but he is still a member of Congress. And he was on with Murphy Show right after that vote.
This really clears the path for us to get into the serious work of crafting what's called budget reconciliation specifics. So in the days ahead, the weeks ahead, the various committees in the Congress will take up their part of this and craft a very specific legislation to implement what will at a minimum be $1.5 trillion in budget cuts over the next 10 years, which is not enough, frankly, to completely get us back on track, but I think is enough to make the statement that we're getting this started. And so this budget resolution is kind of the prerequisite for that.
Yeah, so basically, and Joan, you know all about this from your time in Washington, D.C., the Senate passes their version, the House passes their version,
right,
and then everybody's got to get together in what they call reconciliation, which means that you've got representatives of the House, representatives of the Senate, and everybody gets in a room and they start hashing it out. What I'm hearing and the stories that I'm reading in various interviews is the debate in the House was robust, to say the least. So in the House, the savings, apparently the total on what was passed yesterday is around $1.5 trillion. So now the Senate and the House, again, have to get together. But I guess the White House was pressuring conservatives in the House to get this thing passed. And so now the question is, and I'm just going to say it, how serious is the White House in getting these cuts pushed through? Because if they support the Senate version of this bill that only called for $4 billion worth of cuts, that is complete BS. And I got more audio from John Rose coming up. It is 6:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. All righty, very good. Thank you. As far as your weather for today, a high of 60 and cloudy. Saturday, a high of 63, partly cloudy. And on Sunday, a high of 75 and partly cloudy. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The House, the Senate have both passed their version of the One Big Beautiful Bill. And John Rose says, well, the next steps are going to be critical.
The House had passed a version of this 4 weeks ago, and the Senate finally got to this work over the weekend. And their version is a little bit different from ours, but they have set a different minimum, which was kind of an embarrassingly low $4 billion as opposed to our $1.5 trillion. But at the end of the day, nothing precludes them from making the same cuts that we do. And so earlier today, Leader Thune came out and said that, essentially they were committed. The president assured House leaders and some of our holdout members that the White House is committed to, at a minimum, $1.5 trillion in cuts. And so this really sets the stage then for us moving forward and crafting the specific provisions that will make those cuts.
Yeah, and so there's so much to this bill. But one of the most important aspects of this, remember I asked Congressman Scott Desjardins earlier this week, can you just strip out the tax cuts and vote on them just individually? And he pointed out, and it's true, well, that would mean that we would have to have two great big bills and not just the one great big bill. And I get it, but the tax cuts are critically important. And so I understand the want and the need for one bill, but it sometimes feels like the Congress and the Senate, they play games with what we, the American people, voted for. And I think this is a perfect example where the Senate comes out with their version at $4 billion in savings, and basically they're daring the House to say, no, we're not going to vote for this, because that would mean that the House would be voting against Trump's tax cuts. So there's all kinds of game playing that goes on in Washington, D.C., which absolutely ticks me off. But anyway, Rose was asked about the tax cuts, the Trump tax cuts, and he says, yes, that is his big priority.
Certainly, I'm an advocate for making them permanent because, the last thing we want to do is set the stage for having another big showdown, 5 years from now or whenever it might be. And we all know that when you provide that assurance of some level of permanency to the business community, then small business owners can make decisions about how to invest and how to grow their businesses. If you know that you've only got a five-year window or some limited period of time, then you're not going to make the long-term decisions that would be the best for your business and the best for growing the American economy. And so I think we should provide permanence here. These are tax cuts that we will be extending. And so, if we don't get this done, then, 80% plus of Americans will see their taxes go up dramatically. It would be the largest tax increase in American history.
Oh, and you can hear the hue and cry of people on the left. Oh, it's tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires, all the friends of Elon Musk, right? I mean, we all know that that's coming. They're lying as usual. All you got to do is look this up. Family of four making $80,000 would see their tax bill rise by about $1,700 if these tax cuts are not extended or made permanent. The standard deduction, now $15,000 for singles and $30,000 for married couples, will drop to around $7,500 and $15,000 respectively if these don't go through. The child care tax credit, the child tax credit will shrink. If Democrats get their way, will shrink from $2,000 to $1,000 per child, with the refundable portion falling from $1,700 to $1,000, clearly hitting families hard. And so, the left will tell you, many in the media will tell you that this is just a tax cut and a tax break for millionaires and billionaires. This has been debunked so many times. And by the way, if they don't go through, and I believe that they will, but if they don't go through, that means less money for families to spend who are still recovering from Joe Biden's economy. And so for me, it makes all the sense in the world for Congress, who finally seem to be doing things. We'll see where this goes. But now we just need to get this over the goal line with the $1.5 to $2 trillion savings that we, the American people, voted for. By the way, we've had some good news this week, of course. Joan, am I missing anything?
Not that I know of.
Inflation slowing down,
Yeah.
right? So we had that. That was earlier this week.
Right.
Prices going down, falling 0.1% in March because of the lower energy costs. Do I have that right?
Correct. Yep.
And we had better job numbers.
We did. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But
I know what you're going to say.
what is it?
Is that all of this does not take into account what's been happening the last several days.
Right.
So
There, you can expect that this is going to negatively impact our financial picture moving forward for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this isn't going to be this way forever, and this is what the president asked us to hold on for. Just have patience.
short-term pain, long-term gain.
Yeah, there you go.
And I want to stick it to China.
Yeah, that too.
All right. I still, by the way, I should be promoting the poll. Real quick. The poll today is, do you agree with me and Kevin O'Leary? Mr. Wonderful. Where, not me, Kevin O'Leary.
I was about to ask that question.
I'm Mr. Awkward. He's Mr. Wonderful. But anyway, so he's out there saying, and I'll get into more of this coming up after the news. He is out there saying, just go for the jugular, man. Charge China 400% on tariffs and just get it done.
Yeah.
Enough of the ticky-tacky stuff. So that was the poll question. Do you agree with Kevin O'Leary? We should just go ahead, 400,000, why do I keep saying 400,000? 400% tariffs against China.
400,000%.
Or 400,000, that'd be fine too.
My
And
Lord.
do people agree with me or do they agree with...
78% agree with you.
Okay.
And the wonderful Kevin O'Leary.
Kevin O'Leary.
That's what I said.
Joan, what's coming up in the news?
Well, what China just did to counter the Trump administration's tariffs. Also, what a federal judge had to say about a particular requirement for people who are in the U.S. illegally. We've got that and more coming up here at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here. Listen, what big events do you have planned this spring and summertime? Well, maybe you have a big corporate event. Maybe it's a family reunion. Maybe it's a wedding. Maybe it's an Easter family fun. Maybe it's a birthday. Maybe it is a graduation ceremony. Whatever you have coming up, Nashville Tent and Awning, they can help you with an incredible enclosure that can be installed anywhere. I mean, it can be in your backyard. It can be maybe in your front yard. It can be in a park, whatever. But they've been around since 1884, Nashville Tent and Awning. These folks are a Nashville institution, and they've worked with the likes of the Titans, Vanderbilt, and the Grand Ole Opry. And yes, they are one of the top companies in Nashville, but they're never too big for you and your home. Think about your backyard. You can actually extend your living space with a backyard enclosure from Nashville Tent and Awning so you can enjoy the nice shade as the sun gets hotter as we head closer to summer. If you have an event for work coming up, again, they can help you there as well with a tent or an enclosure. And yes, they've got awnings for any style of building that will improve the look and feel of your home or office. Get some visuals, and they've got a lot of them. Amazing website, ntaco.com, ntaco.com, and taco.com. 615-329-3701. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-329-3701. Solid craftsmanship and built to last since 1884. Nashville Tent and Awning. 6:56, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So there is, there is just a lot going on. Overnight, I think this happened overnight. Donald Trump, of course, as you know, needs some audio. Donald Trump, as you know, he came out with this announcement. I think this was yesterday or the day before.
We're going to tariff our pharmaceuticals, and once we do that, they're going to come rushing back into our country because we're the big market. The advantage we have over everybody is that we're the big market. So we're going to be announcing very shortly a major tariff on pharmaceuticals, and when they hear that, they will leave China, they will leave other places because they have to sell. Most of their product is sold here.
Yep, and that, of course, is Donald Trump talking about wanting to tariff the pharmaceutical companies. And one of the big moves that the president has been trying to do is get more of these pharmaceuticals made here in America. And, I mean, over the years, I have spoken with, countless Congress people here on Nashville's Morning News and back when I was in Midday and so forth. But I remember speaking to Senator Blackburn, Senator Haggerty, and many congressmen who have all said that it is actually a national security issue with all of our pharmaceuticals being made one way or another in China. And so now this came out. I mentioned this earlier. Pharmaceutical company Novartis have now announced plans to build 7 facilities here in America and expand others in what is being called a $23 billion investment over 5 years on the heels of President Trump's announcement of forthcoming tariffs on imported drugs. And I think this is a great thing, and hopefully this is only just the beginning. Remember what we talked about earlier in the week, finished drugs and ingredients. There's 2 aspects to drugs made either here in America or imported from other countries. Finished prescription drugs. They say that roughly 20 to 30% of our finished drugs are made outside of America, mainly China and India. Drug ingredients, 70 to 80% of the ingredients are made in China or India. And listen to this. Generic drugs, about 90% of all generic drugs are made outside of the United States. Guess where they're made? India and China. So, again, I hope this is only the beginning. But you know what? Another victory for Donald Trump. It is 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 7 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Getting pretty slow this morning on 24 at the approach of Bell Road. Looks like it's just some extra heavy volume. We also have a crash this morning at 31st Avenue at Vanderbilt Place. Careful in that area. We've got more in traffic just ahead. And breaking overnight, China has raised its retaliatory levies on U.S. goods to 125%. Beijing signaled that this is likely to be its last increase, at least for the moment.
Trump yesterday saying President Xi Jinping is a friend, and he'd like to make a deal.
I just say that I think it's going to work out, hopefully well.
Experts on China tell ABC News Xi is playing hardball, showing his people he can stand up to America, while also pursuing a strategy of becoming less reliant on the U.S. One expert saying Trump's trade war is exactly what Beijing has been preparing for.
ABC's Perry Russum reporting crews are searching Percy Priest Lake for a missing kayaker. A woman reporting that she and her husband were kayaking last evening when storms moved in. She lost contact with her husband at one point, and he hasn't been seen since. Tennessee is a few votes away from allowing school districts to refuse to enroll illegal immigrant children. After it passed the full state Senate yesterday, Channel 4's Stacey Cameron tells us what's next for this measure.
So now focus on the undocumented students bill turns to the House, where next week the subcommittee on finance will hold hearings. But The House version still needs to come in line with the Senate version of this bill. Right now, the Senate version says schools have to ask for that documentation showing immigration status, while the House version says it's optional for schools to ask for it. If both of those versions don't get into line, the House and the Senate will have to have a conference committee to figure it all out.
Now, the bill needed 17 to pass the state Senate. It got 19 votes. 6 Republicans, though, joined Democrats who voted against it. There is a requirement that anyone in the country illegally must register with the federal government, and it goes into effect today after a federal judge gave the Trump administration the okay on this. Failure to register is considered a crime, and people will be required to carry documents with them or risk prison time and fines. Now, parents and guardians are responsible for anyone under 14 to be registered. This requirement also goes for the so-called snowbirds from Canada who like to winter in Florida. This requirement stems from the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952. Market numbers here brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Stock futures now turning negative. We've got Dow futures minus 29 points. The NASDAQ futures are unchanged right now. S&P futures, they are down 2. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Got a crash in Nashville. It's Old Hickory Boulevard at Cedarmont Drive, and then a crash as well at 31st and Vanderbilt Place. And pretty slow this morning on 24. Now the delays begin around the Smyrna area. They get pretty bad around Laverne, and then heading all the way in to Nashville. Looks like things are pretty standard on 40 and on 65 so far on your Friday morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Welcome on into a Friday. So this happened, I think it was yesterday afternoon or last night. SCOTUS and this gangbanger from Maryland. So the Supreme Court cases, they've been coming up this week, and some are good for Trump and some not so good. The guy in Maryland who is said to be a gangbanger, but he ended up getting deported. His family says, oh, no, he's not a gangbanger. Well, they sent him off to El Salvador, and people are saying that he was deported accidentally. Remember this guy, Kilmar Abrego Garcia? He had been here since 2011. He was 16 years old. 3 years later, in 2019, a judge issued an order preventing him from being deported back to El Salvador because they say that he would face violence. Well, about a month ago, he got picked up, and people are losing their ever-loving minds because they say that he was deported when he shouldn't have been. And now you recall that George said the judges, there's been a battle going on as to whether or not they could keep him in El Salvador. And the Trump administration is saying, no, he's in the prison in El Salvador, and that's where he's going to stay. And now you've got all of these lawsuits that are going back and forth. It finally reached the Supreme Court. So what he says, that is Senator Eric Schmidt out of Missouri. And apparently this guy, he will eventually be deported, just not to El Salvador, so they can deport him somewhere else. So they have to bring him. This is, Democrats. Because they're, of course, behind all this. And so now they've got to bring him back only to send him to another country. The order says that the district court may have overstepped. And again, this is the Supreme Court that is saying that Trump needs to bring this guy back only to deport him eventually to someplace else. But the order says that the district court may have overstepped its authority when it said that Trump had to not just facilitate his return, but also effectuate his return. So now the court has to clarify its directive. Now, remember that under another Supreme Court hearing, they did rule that these guys also must be given their day in court. They must be given process before being deported, which means this process is going to slow down big time.
He had a credible claim under the Biden administration for asylum under evidently a threat from another gang, but he is a hardened criminal. So they can deport him because he's deportable. I mean, this is how ridiculous all this is. He's deportable. They will deport him somewhere else that they just can't actually deport him to El Salvador. So either way, the Trump administration is going to continue this effort. And like I said, there are over 1 million people here with criminal backgrounds and on the terrorist watch list that the Biden administration let in, whether through a goofy asylum process where they gave him a court date 10 years later or through this parole process. Either way, they were just trying to allow as many people to come here illegally, 15 to 20 million. So this is going to be methodical. The good news is border crossings are down 95%, but there's a lot more work to do on these actual deportations.
Well, there's a lot more work to do, period. You folks got to realize, Donald Trump has only been in office, like 2.5 months? Now, Schmidt says, again, this senator out of Missouri, Eric Schmidt says this guy is a hardened criminal. This guy is an MS-13 gangbanger. Evidence is that an undercover agent pinged him as a gang member, and he was wearing the clothes of someone who is MS-13. Do you know what those clothes were, Joan Jones?
What were they?
Yeah, what were the clothes that this guy who the Trump administration claims is an MS-13 gangbanger? Mm-hmm. Do you know what he was wearing? This is why they say that he was a gang member.
He was wearing his hat backwards.
No.
Oh, okay.
He was wearing a Chicago Bulls hoodie.
Is that a thing?
You're asking me?
Okay.
I have no idea.
We need to get up on our gangbanger lingo and...
It's exactly right. Heaven help me if I'm simply a fan of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
Really? Chicago Bulls?
That's what they say.
Wow.
But remember, it wasn't just that, but it was also the fact that this guy was pinged by an undercover agent, if you will, an informant from back when that this person was an MS-13 gang member. This guy swears up and down that he wasn't, by the way, and isn't. So does his wife and so on and so forth. So we'll see where this whole thing ends up. I think a lot of us, though, want to see these cases played out. I think we do need to err on the side of caution and get rid of the people that we believe are MS-13 gangbangers. And frankly, there's a lot of cleanup on aisle America that needs to happen after the Biden administration. Did you see this story, by the way, folks? Another story from last night. There's so much news, like every day. The Trump administration is revoking the parole of thousands of immigrants who they say have found to have criminal records or be on the FBI's terrorist screening center watch list. 6,300.
Wow.
6,300 individuals were, now, when they were paroled, that means that Joe Biden flew them directly into our country. So Joe Biden directly flew into our country 6,300 individuals who either are known criminals or they're on the terrorist watch list.
I'm going to ask a question that, I mean, I think needs to be asked, but it's a little controversial. If you fly people who are on the known terrorist risk list into our country, they're known to be terrorists. Is that treasonous? Are you setting a bomb in our country?
I think they are. Yeah. Knowingly. But see, I mean, we've had this debate where, Alejandro Mayorkas, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, was it treasonous that they left the border wide open?
Yeah.
Is it treasonous that they brought people into this country who they knew were criminals and on the terrorist watch list? And by the way, also didn't tell those communities that they were coming or who they were. And maybe that's why Biden didn't tell folks that they were coming in or who they were. It's just like, here you go. Knock yourself out. Knoxville, Tennessee, or Chattanooga. I can't remember which one it was, Knoxville or Chattanooga. Some, they say, came to Nashville. So we have no idea who these people were. But what we do know, according to the Daily Caller, is that 6,300 of them were known criminals or on the FBI's terrorist screening center watch list. I mean, I don't know why I'm surprised anymore by some of this stuff, because this is what Joe Biden did. This is what the Democrats did. And Joan, I do believe that we could make a case and say that that is treasonous. Remember that segment, I did it, I think, a couple of times, weaponized illegal immigration or weaponized migration, where you have all of these different governments, China and Venezuela and Russia, North Korea and Iran and so forth, and they use illegal immigration to destabilize our country. And that really is a thing. And if we've looked over the past couple of last 4 years under Biden, it has absolutely destabilized our country. And so now here we are with yet another headline of something that, frankly, I think we probably already knew. So you got the countries that I just mentioned as far as this weaponized migration: Venezuela, Iran, China, Russia, North Korea, and add the United States during the Joe Biden administration. 6 nations working hand in hand to destabilize America. Joe Biden and his administration is just as guilty as Venezuela and China and all the rest of these countries, because this is what they did. This is what they encouraged. And they didn't stop it. And then they lied to the American people. 7:16, time to check the roads on WTN. Your weather for today: a high of 60 and cloudy on Saturday, a high of 63 and partly cloudy on Sunday, a high of 75 and partly cloudy. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I think one more audio bite from Senator Eric Schmidt, who, by the way, is a guy that has been very much involved in The Biden administration trying to deal with all of the ramifications of the Biden administration and illegal aliens and the invasion that has happened.
Well, it's worse than that because these are just the people we know about who were paroled. There are literally tens of thousands of others that came in here illegally on the gotaways. But in this example, it just goes to show the abuse of the Biden administration. The parole process is supposed to be individualized, right? An individual case seeking to come here, somebody wanting to come here, maybe here temporarily, and then they go home eventually, right? Biden used this to parole people from entire countries and kept extending that, violating the law. So this is, again, all this kind of two-step that they used to flood this country through mass migration, through the NGOs who are being funded by USAID. This whole thing is a disaster. But President Trump is bringing order out of the chaos here, and the deportations are going to continue. But this is just another example, Laura. These people came here illegally. They were given parole. They should have been individualized. They weren't individualized, and now they're receiving government benefits. They need to be cut off and sent back.
Yeah, listen to this. By the way, that was on Laura Ingram's show last night. 9 of these 6,300, 905 were collecting Medicare, including 4 on the terrorist watch list. 276 were paid out. The official shared this with the Daily Caller, adding that all had Social Security numbers. 41 were collecting unemployment insurance, receiving $42,000 in benefits. 22 received federal student loans, totaling $280,000. Other immigrants granted parole under the Biden administration have also had their benefits stripped by the Trump White House. Under the initiative, 500,000 migrants were flown in from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and yes, Venezuela over the past couple of years. So, I do understand just where we are with the markets. How the futures doing right now, Joan?
Well, let's take a look, Dan.
I know that they were up earlier. By the way,
they are.
By the way, did you hear what Joan just said? Well, Dan, you just let's see how they look, Dan.
It was my version of it, yeah.
You have a good day, Dan.
So, Dow futures are plus 95, NASDAQ futures plus 75, S&P futures plus 18.
Okay, good.
So they dipped a little bit briefly. Mm-hmm. But, these aren't big swings.
No.
And we know that, over the past couple of days, we have had 1,000-point swings. So
listen, anything in the plus column I'm okay with right now.
Yeah.
So I do get the hand-wringing of the markets. They were down big time yesterday again, but let's not forget the progress that has been made on so many other issues.
Yeah.
Including finding out about this kind of waste, fraud, and abuse that Trump and his team, they're handling it. And they're doing really well. It is 7:20 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom. And what's coming up at 7:30?
We'll tell you why crews were out searching on Percy Priest Lake overnight. And there's a new effort to figure out autism and the cause of it. We've got that for you coming up here at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:21 on Nashville's Morning News. Listen, Dan Mandis here. Spring wedding season is here, friends. If you're a bride, a bridesmaid, maybe you're a groom, maybe you're in a wedding, maybe one of your kids is getting married, whatever. But you're not exactly confident about looking your best. Contours Med Spa in Cool Springs, they can help you. And by the way, if you're worried about how you look in a bathing suit, maybe you got a vacation coming up, same deal applies. Their red light technology is going to help you lose 2 inches across the belly on that first treatment, and that is guaranteed. So if you're not happy, you don't pay. And right now, that first treatment is only $99 when you call this phone number, 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960. First 10 callers right now get that first treatment for just $99. Again, it is usually a $600 value. So whether it is a tux, maybe a bathing suit that you're trying to slide into, squeeze into, Contours Med Spa in Cool Springs, they've been helping folks look better and feel more confident with their ultra slim technology. It is FDA approved. It is incredibly unique and one of the only places in Tennessee that does offer that red light technology. This is for both girls and guys. So call right now. First 10 callers get that belly buster special for just $99. That is usually a $600 value. 615-236-9960. 615-236-9960. ContoursLLC.com. Heartbreaking update on that helicopter crash in New York is coming up before the news. Dan Mandis here. Put this date aside. Saturday, May 31st, that is when the Glock store is having their 5th annual open house. This is a huge two-way event, folks. I've been to the previous 4. These are awesome. They've got the top vendors coming out, and you can check out the great deals in firearms for every type of gun owner. And one great deal is on bullets, especially burrow bullets. Now, they've got 50-round boxes, 250-round bullet bags, and 1,000-round tack packs that come in a burrow bullet ammo box at the lowest price ever. People love them some burrow bullets. Now, this is my place to train, the Glock store. And I got to tell you, this is where not only do I train, but I've also bought my guns there. I have also done incredible things with my gun, being able to put some red dot optics on there. This is a great place to upgrade your gun as well. Now, don't forget the Glock store and their open house. It is on Saturday, May 31st. You can come say hi to me, Matt, and Chris. We'll all be there. Details at the website, shoot270.com and glockstore.com. The Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. 727 on WTN, Joan Jones. You've been reporting on the helicopter crash that crashed into the Hudson River in New York.
Yeah.
And have you seen the video of that?
Yeah.
I mean, it just drops like a rock when the propeller like fell off.
That's what they're saying. Now, when I'm seeing it being pulled out of the water, I see parts of the propeller. So I don't know.
Well, you
like
can see
maybe
the
parts of
video.
it.
If you see the video and you watch it in sort of slow motion, you can see the propeller fall off.
Okay, so
And-
maybe it's just parts of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a picture of someone posting like the helicopter is on its way down the head. The propeller is still up, like above it,
Right.
Like a great distance away. So some people are like making the assumption that it could be a mechanical malfunction rather than just like that's what
Well,
caused the crash.
and they're investigating. There's some people because they have video of this helicopter before it crashed flying around the area, and some people who know how helicopters, I guess, are supposed to fly, are saying that the helicopter was flying rather erratic. I think they're not saying dangerous, but a lot of sharp turns and that kind of a thing. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, I've seen several people post that the helicopter was sort of flying maybe risky. I don't know, but this is awful.
Those helicopters, that helicopter in particular was on either its 6th or 8th tour of the day.
Okay.
So they do them all the time.
Yeah.
So for a company that does that all the time, they've only had 2 previous incidents that were questionable, and one was in 2015. The helicopter was just hovering about 20 feet in the air for a short time, and they found that there was just something wrong with the parts. Yeah. And then 2013, there was a big bang as they were in the air and an engine out warning horn. So they were able to land in the water, put the floats out, everybody got out okay. So, 2 incidents for a pretty long time that they've been in business, and they run so many flights. It doesn't seem like this happens all the time with this company.
The husband, wife, and their 3 children killed along with a pilot. Apparently 2 of those family members, they're not saying which ones, but 2 of them were still alive when they pulled them out of the water.
Yeah.
And then obviously they ended up passing away. Very, very incredibly sad story. It is 7:30 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning. It is 7:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're learning that there may have been a body recovered in Percy Priest Lake as crews were searching overnight. A woman had called police and reported that her husband disappeared on the lake. As the 2 were kayaking about 8:30 last night, the man disappearing when storms with high winds moved into the area last night. We'll keep on top of this and try to learn some more information that was just breaking. On the waters of the Hudson River between New York and New Jersey, more on that story about crews recovering the helicopter that fell out of the sky yesterday afternoon.
Witnesses watching in horror as the tragedy unfolded just before 3:30 in the afternoon.
Literally, I just see a helicopter splitting in 2 with the rotor flying off.
Debris falling from the sky.
And I could see a helicopter falling on its side.
Tour company New York Helicopters operating the flight. The CEO telling ABC News his staff has not stopped crying and they are all devastated by this deadly disaster. In Lower Manhattan, Rena Roy, ABC News.
Now, on that helicopter was a family of 5. The father was the Spanish CEO of the technology firm Siemens. He was the CEO of Spain's version of that company, his wife, and 3 daughters. The Secretary of Health and Human Services is promising a new push into unraveling a medical mystery.
This morning, a commitment to find possible causes of autism within 6 months.
By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
Health Secretary RFK Jr. promising during the president's cabinet meeting that he will find out why autism rates are rising.
ABC's Andrea Fujiai. Now, in 2000, the CDC said autism was being diagnosed in 1 out of every 50 children. Today, it's 1 in 36. Ahead of the opening bell, stock futures are on the plus side. The Dow futures up 117 NASDAQ futures up 72. S&P futures are plus 20 points. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
7:32 on Nashville's Morning News. Listen, lake lovers, if you want to live by the lake, Tennessee National has a great opportunity for you. A highly anticipated lakefront resort, golf, and marina community is having their spring sales event. Again, Tennessee National releasing a limited number of lake lots to the public with upgrades and savings one day only. Mark your calendars for Saturday, April 26th. They've got cottage packages with boat slips from $379,900. Lake lot with covered boat slips, those are going for $64,900. Subdividable wooded lots from $79,900. And for the first time ever, fully furnished lakefront townhomes. I've stayed in these. They are incredible. As are the amenities at Tennessee National. Private golf cart access to a new marina and resort. They've got 10 miles of walking trails, 3.5 miles of shoreline, and yes, pickleball courts and swimming pools, all kinds of stuff. So come on out and play by the lake. Simply relax at the waterfront restaurant. Whatever you want to do, you can do at Tennessee National. Just over 20 minutes from Knoxville, Tennessee. Financing is available. Enjoy life on the water, fresh air, and boat rides in sunshine. Again, don't forget that date. Schedule your private tour Saturday, April 26th. 865-408-9992. 865-408-9992. You can find them online, TennesseeNational.com. Dan Mandis here. Spring rebate madness time at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. I want you to listen to these rebates. They're trying to save you money, folks. A mini split 17 SEER or a heat pump 17 SEER. You're going to get an $800 rebate from Busy Bee. As far as heat pumps goes, 15 and 16 SEER, that's a $500 rebate. And duct sealing or repair, that is a $300 rebate. So many ways to save with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. I've been a member of the Beehive Club for years. Now, if you want to join the Beehive Club, you get a $50 rebate on your spring and fall tune-up. And that means that you're saving, $100, which means that you've already saved enough money to pay for that Beehive membership for the year. They'll even file the rebates for you so you don't have to. Now, there's a ton of other benefits when you join the Beehive Club. Check them all out at our website, busybeehvac.com. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Call them 775-7833, 775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
Well, you've got a stalled out car this morning. Make that a stalled out semi truck. It's on 65 in the southbound lanes, just before I-24 exit 86. Now that's taking out the second left lane. It's blocked off there by that stalled out semi tractor trailer. Got a crash involving some injuries. This one's on West Trinity Lane at I-65. Also this morning in Madison on 65 southbound lanes just before Old Hickory Boulevard, an exit, a crash that's blocking the right exit lane at exit 92. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:38, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. So there's a lot going on with the tariffs, of course. Everyone is watching the futures market right now, which just a scant few moments ago, they were up, and that is obviously good. You have President Trump and obviously his entire administration. They are looking to begin these negotiations with all of these different countries. And I think the president is ready to go. Donald Trump is ready to go. Jameson Greer is our U.S. trade representative. He was on Fox News this morning. This is part of what he had to say.
So my office, the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, I have hundreds of people. They're split up according to regional areas, and they're working around the clock with their counterparts at the staff level. And there are pieces of paper going back and forth as countries come in and make suggestions about what they can do to have more reciprocal trade with with us. And we're looking at those, we're reviewing those, we're communicating with them and giving them ideas so we can get to a point where the president can close these deals. He can negotiate, and if there's a deal that's good, he can consider taking it, and if not, then he'll have the tariff. But that's what we're doing over the next 90 days. We've been doing it for weeks, and we're doing it today, and we'll just keep doing it.
And I don't know, Joan, I don't know if you've been reporting this. I'm looking at CNN. New report shows wholesale prices eased in March.
Right. So yesterday, this is the CPI. So this is wholesale prices. Yes, they eased in March, and that's why you had the consumer price index also easing a little bit this month, last month.
All right. So good news. Harry Enton, of course, we all know Harry Enton is very excited on. Can you pull up TV? Can you pull up KGB? Can you pull up the TV?
What channel are you looking for?
CNN. He's all very animated, and when Harry Enton gets animated about prices and that kind of thing,
arms start flying.
You've got the the CNN news anchor, of course, who hates Donald Trump. They always look like they're sucking on a lemon. But you've got Harry Enton, who is very excited about all this, and I just think he gets excited about numbers because he's like a numbers nerd. But anyway, so it looks like, and let's just move on because they've already moved on. KGB.
Yeah, with us, our CNN channel, we don't get the HD version, we get the standard version, and it looks like the volume isn't even on this.
Makes all the sense in the world here at WTN. Moving right along. So I just played you audio of the U.S. Trade Rep Greer, and he says, we are negotiating right now. Tariff talk does continue. Trump has come out now and said, and this is part of the storyline this morning, that those tariffs will come back if deals are not made in the next 3 months. Y'all know what he did, right? 10% tariffs across the board, except when it comes to China. And the tit for tat with China continues. China, this happened. I don't know if it was overnight, yesterday afternoon, whatever. But this morning, we know the news. China has now raised their tariffs from 84% to 125%. Trump's tariffs are now up to 145%. And China is out there calling us bullies, which is obviously ironic if you know anything about China. I've been talking about that forever. But you know who else has been talking about that? Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary.
I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, sell it back here.
Yeah, and Kevin O'Leary obviously is right. A lot of folks don't seem to understand how China, bullying is an understatement. I would say criminal is more accurate in what China has done to the United States. We could talk about the spying. We could talk about the Chinese nationals coming into our country. We could talk about stealing our intellectual property. We could obviously talk about COVID, the fact that they will not cooperate with investigations into the beginnings of COVID. None of that. And so I appreciate where Kevin O'Leary says, you know what? Screw China. Go for the jugular, 400% tariffs literally right now.
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese.
Yep, intellectual property. So for me, because you'll notice what's going on, right? The tit for tat, Trump is going to make comments and Xi is going to make comments. And I think that Trump just needs to, boom, end it right now. Because the longer that we dance around this, the more the markets are going to be impacted in a negative way. And so it's almost like, you know what, go for the jugular, get it done, get Xi Jinping on a plane right now, because he's out there talking smack, right? Xi Jinping is out there talking smack, and so is Donald Trump. But the question is, does China actually have the economy to handle this? And the question is no. But Kevin O'Leary has something to say about that as well. This is one of the big sound bites from the week. I've got more on this straight ahead. 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. Weather today, a high of 60. Saturday, a high of 63 and partly cloudy. Sunday, a high of 75 and partly cloudy as well. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. So as far as the tariffs go, one of the things that Trump and his team need to do is they need to get in a room and they need to talk. Whether that means that they meet in a neutral location, whether that means that Xi Jinping comes to the White House, whatever. But it does need to happen, because the longer that the trade wars go, the worse the market gets. And so, to me, I believe that we need to end it, and we need to end it right now.
The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
That's one of my favorite sound bites of the day.
It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Is that why
he's a little brutal?
Is that why he's Mr. Wonderful to you?
Yeah, right.
Yes, because of that statement today. As a matter of fact,
Chinese heads into the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could find a theme song for Kevin O'Leary. Give me a second.
Like a 13-year-old's pimple. Just
oh God.
Sorry. Hey, you know what? I almost got a little sound effect. But, after yesterday's disastrous fun with sound effects, I've decided to, let that go for a day. But
what'd you do with sound effects yesterday?
I did Yippee-ki-yay blanker.
Yeah.
That was your highlight of the year so far. That's your best edit.
Listen, I thought it was great, but, whatever. By the way, people, I know. Did you know, Joan?
Okay, I know.
Okay, so you know as well that it is a rotor, not a propeller on a helicopter?
Yeah. Yes. So I just heard, I read that.
Right.
I have a theme song for Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, though. Would you like to hear it?
Sure.
It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
You gotta let it play.
Yeah.
It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
I mean, listen, it all just kind of works, doesn't it, Joan?
It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
And it's a rotor, not a propeller. that is how my Friday's going.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold on to that audio in case you play more Kevin O'Leary in the future. We'll play that in the background.
So Xi Jinping is now running around saying he's not afraid of the United States. He's not afraid of Donald Trump, and he's not afraid of our tariffs.
I find it interesting that the EU is now going to China to say, hey, sell us goods. We're here. And China is going to Qatar or Saudi Arabia or something saying, we'd like to open markets here with you. And I'm thinking none of them can even come close by a minuscule to what you can sell in the United States. So what are we talking about?
Well, remember what we talked about yesterday, where China has been out there and they're trying to form like a coalition with all of these other nations.
Yeah.
And the other nations are like, no, we're going to hang out with Trump and their economy and their buying power as well. Because, we have our struggles, but we have a far, my opinion, stronger economy than China does. And so it just makes sense for these countries to go to Donald Trump and say, you know what, let's make a deal. And that's what he's trying to do. So to me, it does seem like Kevin O'Leary is right, where it's just get it done, go for the jugular, finish it, and then we can all move on, as opposed to this sort of tit for tat thing that's going on, which is impacting the stock market. And speaking of which, I love what Scott Bessent is out there talking about. He is apparently now the guy in charge of these tariffs and the negotiations and everything else. There was a big, seemingly from what I'm reading, there was a big battle inside, Trump land, where you had Peter Navarro, who is hardcore on the tariffs, and Scott Bessent. And I think for whatever reason, Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, people see him as a little more, not easier to negotiate with, just somebody who is going to bring back a little more tact. Navarro, he is a flamethrower. If you don't know who Peter Navarro is, remember he and Elon Musk, they got into a very public spat. Navarro was essentially attacking, we covered this, Navarro was actually attacking Elon Musk, attacking Tesla. Well, despite their differences on tariffs, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they were still best buddies. And so now it's clear that Navarro apparently is, what they're saying is he's sort of being sidelined. And now Scott Bessent is the one that is going to be handling a lot of the tariff talk and perhaps these negotiations as well. I've got an update on Scott Bessent, and people like Scott Bessent. I'm going to talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead, including what is Donald Trump's overall strategy as it relates to tariffs. All that and a whole lot more is straight ahead at 7:51. Joan Jones in the WTN Newsroom.
Yeah, why a Nashville family is counting their blessings today. And President Trump goes to the doctor. We've got more coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7.51, Dan Mandis here. Interest rates have plummeted. It is time to call my friends at Loan Pronto. Listen, if you're looking to get cash out of your home equity, refinance out of a high interest rate, maybe doing a home improvement project, Loan Pronto can make that happen in a matter of days. Take advantage of this opportunity, friends, and you can get hundreds, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home equity. Pay off all your credit cards, pay off the car loans. You know, the average homeowner cuts their monthly bills by about $1,000. Get more information at loanpronto.com. Inflation and higher costs have put a lot of people in a stressful financial situation. But if you own a home, there is a way out. Loan Pronto has multiple options that can help you get the financial freedom you deserve. Most homeowners get their cash in less than 2 weeks, and most don't even need an appraisal. So do the smart thing. Stop paying insane rates on those credit cards. LoanPronto.com is the website. Reach out. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. Call them at 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780. Find them online again. LoanPronto.com, equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval. NMLSconsumeraccess.org. 7:53, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to say hello to Tony from Cabinet Solutions. Hey, Tony, happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday to you, Dan. I'm just out here walking the job site this morning with a very happy and excited homeowner.
All right, so if you, because we know, and you and I have talked about this, but Cabinet Solutions, you folks can provide flooring, you can provide cabinets, you can provide all kinds of things for new homeowners. So talk a little bit about that.
Yep. Well, they had a kitchen and bath that was done in the 90s. It was that oak raised panel door with the arched top, and they were that honey color. It was very popular back then, and polished brass hardware. I mean, we were in the 90s. And if I replace one of these, I've replaced 1,000. And they chose a beautiful shaker transitional door in an off-white, and installed new flooring and tile backsplash. It's a brand new place now. It's amazing.
All right, so folks, look, if you're looking at your kitchen cabinets, by the way, my Cabinet Solutions, they're doing my bathroom in my home, as a matter of fact. But if you've been looking at these cabinets and you want to get them replaced, go to their website, mycabinetsolution.com, mycabinetsolution.com, and see what they can do for you, Cabinet Solutions. They also do flooring. They also do closets and a whole lot more. Check them out, mycabinetsolution.com. $7:57, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, watch us on YouTube. You can also watch us on X, 997WTN.com. You can watch us on Facebook, too. I recommend YouTube because that is where you can, please, throw the host a bone, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Watch us on your phone and on your TV, whatever it is, on your computer, and listen to us on the radio. But every day we do the Daily Dan poll. Today's Daily Dan poll is, do you agree with Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary, and yours truly, when he says that we need to just go ahead and go for the jugular with China and start charging them 400% tariffs to get Xi Jinping to agree to start renegotiating? So that was our Daily Dan poll, and what are the people of WTN saying now?
Right now, again, it's still staying around the percentage it was before. 77% are agreeing with Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary.
All right, so 77% of you are saying, yeah, let's just get this done. And I think that's the point. You know, enough, pea-footing around. Let's just get this done, and so we can move on with our lives and we can move on with our economy as well. Because right now, and I've been saying this for, since this whole thing started, really this is about China. This is about China, and this is about China's, it's about the economy, but it's also about their bad behavior. So I am all for 400% tariffs right now to get this done. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, Great watch. Had a lot of fun watching the cabinet meeting yesterday with Donald Trump and his administration. Scott Bessent was there, and this is what he had to say about negotiations.
I'd echo what Howard said on the trade queue, that we've got over 75 countries that want to come in. So it'll be Treasury, Commerce, Jameson at USTR, and we're putting a process in place. And as you said, you're going to be part of the negotiations too, because I've had these countries call me up and Secretary Bessent, we're happy you're going to be negotiating. I said, well, President Trump's going to be involved too.
But he also says something else, and it's a moment that went viral, and I'm going to play that for you coming up. Do you know, though, and I was not real surprised to hear this, but do you know that in polling, Joan, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, is found to hold the highest net approval rating out of Donald Trump's senior officials?
That's incredible.
At plus 14%.
Yeah.
And the thing that I like about it is that he's not smooth talking. He hasn't been, doing TV interviews for years and years. He isn't a former Fox News anchor. No offense to the former Fox News anchors.
He's a nerd.
He's a nerd, and he's awkward, and I love it. And I think that's why people like him, because he is absolutely genuine, and he's doing a heck of a job. Got a lot more straight ahead on Scott Bessent. And the tariffs is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 8 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There was a crash this morning on 65 in the southbound lanes just before Old Hickory Boulevard, exit 92. In Madison, you've got a crash that blocks off the exit lane for exit 92. It's blocked off this morning, and it's stop and go from Rivergate Parkway up to that spot. You'll need some extra time to get in. In the news this morning, a Nashville family is feeling blessed today after a tree fell into their home during last night's storms. Nashville Fire said crews responded to that home on Abbey Drive last night. They found that tree fell through the roof, but nobody was hurt. The American Red Cross is on hand to help that family. Tennessee is a few votes away from allowing school districts to refuse to enroll illegal immigrant children. Channel 4's Stacey Cameron on that.
Senator Watson, who sponsored the bill, argued it's a money issue, claiming undocumented students cost Tennessee schools at least $35 million a year. But 6 of Watson's Republican colleagues turned against the bill, joining Democrats who say it's morally wrong to deny children an education, saying this bill is punishing kids for their parents' choice to come to the U.S. illegally.
Well, now the focus will turn to the House, where next week the Subcommittee on Finance will hold hearings. Another school district is moving toward another layer of safety for students and staff.
Channel 4 says the Rutherford County School Board voted Wednesday night to approve metal detectors. The Rutherford County Commission will now have to approve funding for it. Channel 4 says that money's going to come from an extra $4 million the district received from the state because of its excellent performance. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Overnight, the trade war between the U.S. and China was tweaked a little bit. China raising the tariff on U.S. goods to 125%. American tariffs on China sit at 145%. When it comes to energy, though, Tucker Perkins, who is the president and CEO of the Propane Education and Research Council, says, for now, Americans should be okay.
The American consumer is in a protected status, because whatever we don't export is there for the American consumer. And so I think first and foremost, American consumers are easily protected.
And President Trump gets his annual physical today. On Truth Social, he posted that he's never felt better.
Mr. Trump in January became the oldest American to be sworn in as president at 78 years old. The most comprehensive details about his health are from more than 7 years ago. The most recent details came in a 3-paragraph letter from his personal physician in November 2023, in which the doctor wrote Trump's overall health is, quote, excellent. Karen Travers, ABC News, Washington.
And a look at the pre-market trading right now. Dow Jones futures are up 122. We've got NASDAQ futures gaining 43. S&P futures, they're up 15 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather just ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Still dealing with a crash in Madison on 65 southbound just before the Old Hickory Boulevard exit 92. And they're saying the right exit lane is blocked off. Bordeaux, Buena Vista Pike at Tucker Road. That's a crash that involves some injuries. Percy Priest, a crash at Elm Hill Pike and Bell Road. And then in Rutledge Hill, a crash on President Ronald Reagan Way at Lindsley Avenue. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.807 Nationals Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Breaking news, apparently Trump's top trade official is saying that so far no talks with China at this point. Keep waiting. And you know, Trump yesterday, Joan, I don't know if you heard it. I wish I had the audio. But Trump has been very conciliatory towards Xi Jinping. And he's been saying nice things about Xi Jinping because this is how Trump does it. This is how Donald Trump negotiates. He'll hit you square in the eye and right between the eyes and so forth. And he's a really tough negotiator. But at the end of the day, he is also, in my opinion, a gentleman. And when it comes to negotiations,
he offered that off ramp. You know, China wants to negotiate. They just don't know how to approach it. So here's me saying, come on, approach me. I'm open.
Just
so
call
he gave him, he gave him the off ramp, and he hasn't taken it so far.
Nope. By the way, 7332. We're talking about how much we like Scott Bessent.
Yeah.
And how he is the highest ranking and approval rating of Trump's top cabinet officials.
Yeah.
7332. Scott Bessent reminds me of a very young Harry Carey.
Oh.
Do you know who Harry Carey is, Joan?
I
know the KGB does. You don't have to know.
Sports reference?
He is a Chicago Cubs play-by-play guy. In my opinion, the worst ever, which I know for a lot of folks are going to get really angry, including maybe 7332. He was always kind of drunk. I'm Harry Carey. Go Cubs.
Wow, that's actually really good. That's like legitimately like a good impression.
Well, I sound drunk this morning, so that's why.
Okay.
Anyway, 7332 says, Scott Bessent reminds me of a very young Harry Carey, or maybe if Will Ferrell was impersonating a young Harry Carey. The little head shake and massively likable.
No. He does have a head shake.
Does he? I haven't noticed the head shake.
I said to my husband the other night watching him, it's back and forth. He does a back and forth shake. And I don't know if he doesn't realize he does it or if it's just, maybe it's a tick.
Yeah, a tick.
Which is fine. But yes, I did notice that too.
All right. So anyway, he said something during a speech yesterday, and he was referencing it. It kind of went viral, where he really personified and put a real fine point on what Donald Trump is trying to do. Everybody's freaked out. Of course, we all know. Everybody is freaked out about the stock market. And Trump doesn't really seem, I don't know what's going on behind closed doors, but Trump doesn't really seem all that concerned with what is going on right now. A lot of people have said, well, the stock market's been overinflated, whatever. But this is what he had to say about the speech that he made, where he said that Donald Trump's mission is to focus and support not Wall Street, but Main Street.
And then I gave a speech yesterday to 1,400 small and community bankers, and they were so happy to hear from your administration. And I told them Wall Street's done great for the past 4 years, 10 years, 20 years. It can continue doing great, but it's Main Street's turn now, and it's those small bankers through deregulation, through emphasis on Main Street, your Main Street agenda, bringing back jobs, that is going to power the smaller communities.
All right, so that's what he's saying. He's saying that, listen, we know that Wall Street is suffering, but now we have to focus on Main Street. We have to focus on local communities. We have to focus on trying to get businesses to and countries to bring businesses to America. And so, and I get that. I get that. He wants to see, and Donald Trump wants to see jobs. He wants to see everyday Americans have a place to go to work every single day. That's what Donald Trump is focused on. By the way, and I've mentioned this, I think a couple of times now, I'm not sure, but we had some very big news this morning when we came in. Pharmaceutical company Novartis has now announced plans to build 7 facilities in the United States. This is a $23 billion U.S. investment. And that's great news. So almost every day, but at least once a week, we get reports of a company that is moving back into the United States. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted.
What are you distracted by?
All the hate I'm getting because of that Harry Carey comment.
Yeah.
So you knew you would do that, though.
He was a national treasure, and that's your
Harry
first mistake.
Carey was not a national treasure.
Dan, he was. That's even if you're not from Chicago, he's a national. He's like Vince Scully, very similar in that.
See,
sense.
my favorite was Vince Scully.
Well, yeah, I was a Giants fan, but even if he was a Dodgers guy, you still loved him. It's like the same thing with Harry Carey. You can not like the Cubs, but you can still love that man.
Here you go. I'm going to give my Philly people a shout out. Harry Callis was the best in the business.
Harry Callis was good.
Yeah.
39.90.
No way. Don't even go there.
39. Don't make her. You know what? We're going to have Philly Joan and Philly Stefano in here pretty soon.
Wow, you're getting his name wrong now. We're going
Stefano.
Was that legit or was that like?
No, it was legit because I'm not used to having to put Philly in front of it.
I thought you were
Philly
legit
Stefano.
messing with him more.
No.
Adding on to it.
39.91 says it is sacrilegious to not like Harry Carey, but that imitation was pretty darn good.
Yeah, again, I give you credit. It was like the Will Ferrell impersonation. Very good.
I hate the Cubs, 45-40. I hate the Cubs, but leave Harry alone. Do you know what part of Do you know what part of the problem that I had with Harry Carey? So I grew up, and I grew up listening to like Vince Scully, in Los Angeles, and I could never get over the Homer kind of play-by-play announcing. Now, for you folks that don't know what that means, it's like, go Cubs! It's like you can do play-by-play almost like you're neutral and you're just calling the game, or you can be Harry Carey and some of these other folks that openly root for one of the teams. The home team, obviously. That's why I believe they call him a homer.
Well, Dan, I hate to say this, but they're paid by the team to commentate for their team. They're broadcast specifically for your home of the Chicago Cubs, as Harry Carey is paid by the Cubs, so he's going to have that favoritism because he's on their network.
Well, Vince Scully was paid by the Dodgers, and he was never a homer like that.
I mean, he had some cases of that, but that wasn't his. He just called the games. Like when the Dodgers won, he was happy.
People tuned into the Cubs games just to listen to Harry.
Exactly. He wasn't a national television guy. He was a local broadcast guy. And local broadcast guys have favoritism. Like the Tennessee Titans have their favoritism commentary, which is fine. Everyone loves it.
Mario says, KGB, set Dan straight.
I mean, that's what I'm here for.
Hey, California boy, he was a national treasure.
Yeah.
Dan, Harry Carey. Oh, maybe I'm wrong on that.
Dan,
on this.
I believe the people have spoken. Democracy has spoken.
Democracy has spoken. It's getting very uncomfortable in here.
I mean, he was just a lovable dude. It's hard to hate on a guy that's like.
I'm not hating on Harry Carey. I'm sure he was a wonderful guy when he was sober.
Okay, you're just
moving right along.
The chat's not going to give up on this.
He was pretty good in his younger days. Maybe he was. Got to check the roads on WTN. 8:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's see here. The weather is what I'm supposed to do. I'm getting hammered. This is what happens.
I told
Jim
you.
Says Dan is right.
You're playing a dangerous game, Maverick.
Dan is right. KGB probably liked the White Sox.
I was a San Francisco Giants fan. I already said it.
Weather. Friday, today, high of 60 and cloudy. Saturday, a high of 63 and partly cloudy. Sunday, a high of 75 and partly cloudy. You want to get into play-by-play announcers? So, you know who was the greatest?
Crew and Kype.
Who?
The Giants commentators. They're one of the greatest ever. If you ever listen to them, they're amazing.
So I liked John Miller, who I believe is still with the Giants. But you know who's great? Like, because I've said this before. What I like to do is I like to go back in time, and I like to listen to old radio broadcasts. You know what I need to do? I need to go back and listen to Harry Carey in his early days.
In his prime.
In his prime.
I mean, his old age, he was still good. I give him credit, but I understand, like, Vin Scully was good. I think Vin Scully was good from start to finish.
He was.
And you can, obviously, you'll make the argument that Harry Carey was good in his prime, but at the end, he probably lacked something. But I don't even agree with that, to be honest.
Here's the deal. Harry Carey was a character, and that's obviously what I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
Vin Scully was a great play-by-play announcer, but he wasn't a character. He was a straight shooter. That's a great way to put it.
Oh, Bob Uecker.
Bob Uecker was a great one as well.
He's with them. He's with Vin Scully and Harry Carey, in my opinion. He's amazing. And also him in the movies Major League was fantastic.
Dan says, John says, Dan, you'd drink too if you hadn't seen your team win a championship your entire life.
Totally fair. They didn't make it to the World Series in his lifetime.
69-66, John Madden and Pat Summerall. Absolutely.
Football, yes.
Keith Jackson, of course, very good. And but here, nobody has mentioned. Do you know who the best ever, I believe, was?
Shoot.
Mel Allen.
That's a deep dive.
Do you remember? It's not a deep dive. Don't you remember? I remember as a kid. When I was a kid, you would have like Saturday or Sunday morning cartoons. We'd watch Popeye or whatever it was. But as I got older, do you know what I would love to watch? This Week in Baseball.
Yeah.
With Mel Allen. And that's another, I just have no life. I will also go back.
I did the same thing.
And I will go back and I will watch old episodes of This Week in Baseball from like the 1970s, 1980s, hosted by Mel Allen. Yeah. Mel Allen, TB, that's what I'm talking about. Mel Allen did This Week in Baseball highlights. That's exactly right. What are you going to say, John?
Oh, John Facenda. That's another good one. He wasn't a play-by-play guy, but he was in that like category.
He was the
NFL Films guy.
NFL Films guy. That's right.
But that's still like, in my opinion, because he would talk over like the NFL film stuff, just like a play-by-play guy would, and he was fantastic also.
Yep.
Had to put him in that category.
Hammer
Dan, Stefano should be coming any second now.
Oh, okay.
I want you guys to be watching the line.
Oh, right. He's gonna be calling, and I have to go.
Is he calling? Is he not coming in?
No, he's calling, saying he's here, and then we have to let him in.
So what you're saying, Joan, is we are on
Stefano time.
Stefano warning.
Yeah.
We are under a Stefano warning, but very second, in a mere matter of seconds, we may be on a Stefano DiPietro watch.
Yes, exactly. It's like the weather.
Level 5 DiPietro.
Level 5.
Level 5.
Have you noticed that Joan doesn't get nearly as excited about either one of us, KGB?
It's her Philly brother, and
come on,
that's why it is.
Okay, very good.
And the fact is, he is known way more than we are.
When's the last time I saw great hair around here?
Oh man,
madam,
that's pretty harsh.
That's hat hair.
All right.
What?
Okay. 50. Here's the funny thing. Do you know what the challenge is?
What is the challenge?
About what we do?
Yeah.
I've clearly just lost all control. We're doing like, who's the best play-by-play announcer? Howard Cosell? No.
Jim Ross.
But this is like, I'm getting hammered with all of these names, right? But then there's always like one guy who's like, boring.
Oh, yeah.
Z. Listen, I get it, but here's the thing. What's everybody hammering on the super text line right now? is their favorite play-by-play guy. Pee Wee Reese and Dizzy Dean. All right.
By the way, the boring guy texted boring like 6 times in a row, like a crazy stalker ex. So that's invalid now.
Red Barber, another one. So, yeah, Mario Impemba was one of my favorites. He did the Angels, and now last time I checked, he was doing the Detroit Tigers. I have no idea. 4460 says, now I miss the tariff talk. I can't win for losing. Anyway, moving right along. By the way, Mike Keith is really very good. Like if you're into football, he is absolutely one of the best. Who's now going on to, he's no longer with the Titans. Mike Keith is now going to do the Volunteers. And good for him. I think that's great. And football on the radio is one of the absolute best, and Mike Keith is one of the best. All right, I guess enough of that.
Favorite segment of the show by far for me.
I know for you. People are hating on me. It's funny. Joe says Joan got dark.
I got dark. What does that mean?
I don't know. Nick says, please don't screw up this interview with Stefano DiPietro, Dan.
Too
no
late.
Pressure.
Too late.
You know what? I'm feeling the pressure now.
Yeah.
Well, I called him Stefano a few minutes ago.
Now he's not going to be here. Now he's going to turn around and go somewhere else.
He's listening right now. I'm sorry,
we are on a Stefano DiPietro warning.
Level 5.
No, it's a watch right now. The warning is when he arrives at the door.
Okay.
That's when we take cover.
Anyway, Joan was coming up.
The Supreme Court tightens the screws on the Trump administration. There was a ruling last night. Also, we're learning who was on board that Tor helicopter that crashed in the Hudson River yesterday. That and more coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Mark Spain Real Estate. Listen, avoid the stress of preparing to sell your home. With the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can skip the hassle of spring cleaning and sell your home fast for maximum value. Yes, Dan Mandis here. Don't worry about showings, open houses, or costly repairs. Mark Spain Real Estate's guaranteed offer allows you to bypass the market, receive an all-cash offer, and close within days. Now, this is a great company. They've got over 12,500 five-star reviews. You can trust Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home fast with their guaranteed offer. They've been serving families for nearly 30 years. They've helped over 67,500 satisfied clients. So spring into action and sell your home with confidence with Mark Spain Real Estate. Find out what your guaranteed offer would be. There's no obligation. 855-299-SOLD is the phone number. 855-299-SOLD. You can find them online anytime. markspain.com and start packing. $8:24, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. You know, the weather in Middle Tennessee can get crazy, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. Get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. Again, the weather gets insane. A lot of people end up with power out. You will be the house with the power on when your neighborhood is dark because you check out the Generator Supercenter. You can find them online. It is generatorsupercenterofnashville.com, 615-879-1952. And again, they're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. Installation is fantastic. Expert installation, 24-hour monitoring as well. They're not going to leave you in the dark. 615-879-1952. That website one more time, GeneratorSuperCenterofNashville.com. $8:29, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. From the Super Text line, guy wants to know, why is Scott Bessent involved in these negotiations? Well, the reason why Scott Bessent is involved in the tariff negotiations with 75-plus countries at least is because he's the Treasury Secretary, and he's part of a team. You've got the Treasury Secretary. You do have Peter Navarro. I think Peter Navarro, I forget exactly what his actual title is, but he is part of the trade negotiations as well. There's several people within Donald Trump's orbit and within Donald Trump's team that will be taking part of these negotiations, including Donald Trump himself. But yes, Scott Bessent is the Treasury Secretary, and he is more than qualified to lead these negotiations. It is 8:30 on WTN.
Good morning, 8:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. In a unanimous ruling from the Supreme Court last night, the Trump administration was ordered to facilitate the return of the man mistakenly deported to a prison in El Salvador. Apparently, the administration's mistake was not deporting him to a different country.
The facts of this case have not been contested. The government, of course, admitted its mistake. But what they had been saying is that they couldn't be ordered to return him. They were effectively trying to wipe their hands of this individual's case. He was slated for removal from the United States, just not to El Salvador. And they were attempting to say, well, it is what it is, but the Supreme Court unanimously said that can't be the case. He needs to be returned.
ABC's Devin Dwyer reporting there. The Rutherford County School Board has denied admission for one student and paused a decision on a second. Both were previously expelled from their districts for making threats. The school board will take up the case of the second student at their next meeting, April 24th. A little boy who had been reported missing from Memphis yesterday has now been found dead. 5-year-old Caden Nolan was being watched by his aunt, who fell asleep and lost track of him. He has a form of autism. Caden was found in a body of water at his aunt's apartment complex. The NTSB and the FAA are now investigating after a tour helicopter crashed into the Hudson River yesterday. Overnight, the wreckage was pulled out of the water. This man witnessed the crash.
You see a helicopter splitting in two with the rotor flying off in the sky. It was going so fast and just went straight into the water, and like nothing came up afterwards. It must have just sunk.
On board, the family of 5. It's Spain's CEO of technology company Siemens and his wife and 3 children. Everybody on board was killed, including the chopper pilot. Money News brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. I feel like I need I feel like I need a drum roll right here. Want to know how the Dow Jones Industrials started?
Tell me.
Dow Jones Industrials are down 271. We were in the plus column for so long this morning. NASDAQ starting down 62 points lower. We've got the S&P 500 index minus 30 right now. That's the latest news, traffic, and weather. Next, I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
8:33 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Stoltzco, the premier pole barn builders in the state of Tennessee. You know, putting up a pole barn from Stoltzco could increase the value of your land big time, and you can use it as a garage, an event space, an equestrian building. You can just live in it. Bottom line is, pole barns from Stoltzco, not only are they built really well, but they're flexible as well. You can basically use them for anything. Again, a garage, an event space, equestrian building, you can just live in it. You can plan ahead, build maybe your retirement home. A lot of folks in the city, by the way, also use these barn dominiums, which is what we call them, pole barns that are homes. And people in the city use them as sort of getaway homes as well in the country. Call Stoltzco today and tell them Dan told you to reach out, 615-622-5992. That is Stoltzco, 615-622-5992. Great website, stoltzco.com, Stoltzco. Stoltzco.com. You can find them on Instagram and Facebook or at their website, stoltzco.com.
Oh, hey, you know how Stefano's not here and we were expecting him like 15 minutes ago?
Yes.
He got into a fender bender.
Okay. I've got to be the one that's going to ask the question. Does the guy ask Stefano? Because I'm sure that he wants. Everybody wants to know. Does the guy speak English? Does he have a driver's license?
Yeah.
And is it relevant?
And did the guy try to flee the scene?
Yeah, maybe we should ask him when he gets here.
Oh, my gosh.
Is he still coming?
Yeah, he said he's going to try to get here ASAP.
But like the weather,
words.
his timing is a little off.
I told him I'm sorry. Oh, my goodness.
See what you did, Joan? You made Stefano DiPietro get in a car accident.
I'm so sorry.
You know.
Are you sure you didn't just hear your comments about Harry Carey and decide to opt out?
No.
I'm not going on that.
He's a Harry Callis guy. I'm very sure of it if he's from Philadelphia. So
Stefano got into an accident when he heard me say his name is Stefano.
Yeah.
And that
what?
It was your
It was
fault.
an accident. I've been calling him Stefano. Now it's in my head. I'm going to screw up his name when he comes in.
Stefano.
Hey, Stefano.
All right, we got to go.
Also, Harry Carey's trash.
Well, there's a fender bender somewhere near the radio station. I'm not sure where. Then there's also an accident this morning in Belmont, and that one just disappeared from the screen. Love that. Antioch, it's Franklin Limestone Road at Antioch Pike. That's the scene of a crash. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
So, Joan.
Yes.
Do you think Stefano would find it funny if when he comes in, if I ask him, so when you hit somebody with your car, did they get out and say, hey, are you Stefano DiPietro?
Oh, yeah.
Did
you
they
have to
recognize
ask him. You have to ask him. He just said he's on his way. I don't know how far away
By
he
the
is.
way,
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if I've ever been so happy that we are on video right now. How would you describe your microphone right now, Chris?
Flaccid.
Thank you. Flaccid.
Flaccid. That's a word.
So Chris's microphone is droopy.
Droopy.
What's the word I'm
This
looking
never
for?
happens, I swear.
It never happens. This never happens.
This never happens.
It just kind of falls away from me.
It just,
Doesn't it have like little screws on the side to tighten it up?
It won't stay up. Oh, there we go.
Maybe it needs
Shocker,
to-
Chris was misusing it.
So the mic did not need to go to the low T center?
No, it did not.
I knew it was going to go there.
Did you
at any
somehow
moment.
stick a little blue pill in there?
I did what I could do.
What? Oh, I'm sorry. Chris is throwing down flaccid jokes, and I'm the one that's bad.
What are you talking?
Yes.
It wasn't a joke. That was just reality.
Listen, everybody knew what you meant.
I know.
Right?
I know. Yep.
What a week, by the way. It starts off with Chris getting into a fender bender. Now this.
See, the great thing is, like, Stefano is out there and he's listening, and he's like, I really don't know if I want to do this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Why
Stefano, you have time to turn around.
It's a sign. It's a sign, sir.
Listen, Stefano, if you want to turn around, that's fine. Just don't hit anybody else.
Wait.
Do we know if Stefano hit somebody?
I don't
What are you
know. I'm
leaving him
kidding.
for?
Does Stefano have a license?
He wanted to get on this conversation about sports broadcasters so much he ran into someone.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Do we know where he is?
No, I didn't ask him, and I don't want him to text while he's driving.
Maybe
here,
that's So he probably was talking to you with the fender bender first, and so we can't do it twice.
You know, you can always come on Monday.
I love
Yeah,
work
listen,
loving.
Stefano, if you want to come in Monday, because listen, I have been so looking forward to Stefano coming in that I don't want my time with Stefano cut short.
Oh, I see.
Your time.
So if we want to move this to Monday, then we can do that. Now, if he's, doing what many of my high school dates did and making up a reason why he can't be here, like my high school dates did.
Oh, damn.
Oh, I've got the chicken pox. Oh, I've got homework to do.
I have to rearrange my sock drawer.
Rearrange my sock drawer. Oh, I got in a car accident. I get it.
Amy needs to text you to say she loves you just to because that made me sad.
Do you need a hug?
Yeah. A long
Chris is available.
hug.
Okay, now hold on. Does Stefano know my rule on hugging? I just got to make sure he understands my personal space
10
issues.
a 10-second hug when you first meet.
No, that's actually not.
There's a 10-second max, and then after that, it gets weird. And don't make eye contact while you're doing it.
I told him straight eye contact.
And there's got to be the man pat on the back.
The man pat. Is
No,
it?
it's a linger. It's a back rub.
It's not. What is wrong with you? Why are you weird today?
Because I want you. Because that's the Dan hug.
What did he say earlier, Joan, that made you and I both pause?
What did I say?
The mayor. You said the mayor of.
Oh, she ugly.
Kate, no. That's not what you said. The mayor of the former mayor, Lori Lightfoot, was ugly. But then he said that the current mayor of Chicago was hot.
I know. I said he's better to look at than Lori Lightfoot.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Lori Lightfoot looked like a character out of Beetlejuice.
That was my point.
I mean,
ta-da!
At least he looks like he can be on television without it breaking.
I mean, let's ask the audience: who'd you rather, Lori Lightfoot or Brandon Johnson?
How about I would rather jump off a bridge.
Let's get a Daily Dan poll going.
Yeah. Would you rather?
Lightfoot, Johnson, Bridge. You decide.
Bridge at 100%.
All right, so do you want to go over the questions that we're going to ask Stefano DiPietro?
Well,
I didn't prepare. Do you have anything for this?
So I don't know if you saw this, but we have a serious problem with birds at the White House.
Apparently we do.
Yes,
yeah.
and I'm not going to let everybody know that birds are fake. You guys know that already.
Sure.
But Peter Doocy was very upset, and he's screaming at the president to do something about this. I just sent this to your DMs.
All right.
It is like an Alfred Hitchcock movie over at the White House today.
Stretch. I'm trying to pull it up.
Oh, I will keep stretching. Birds are fake. They're actually spy drones from other countries.
We've heard this, yeah.
Yep. And Peter Doocy found out the hard way that the Chinese spy drones are now attacking. That's what is that?
You know what? This is not my day.
You can't do it.
Something's wrong with the internet.
You're using Microsoft Edge as your browser.
Okay, you know what?
Why do you do that?
I don't know. Somebody's gonna have to tell me. Apparently, Stefano is now here.
Oh,
he is here. Yeah.
All right,
perfect. We'll get his opinion on birds. Are they real?
Did you guys leave a place for him to sit?
We did, and we got
headphones for him.
Ah, okay. You're gonna mess up his hair if you do that. So,
all right, so
did
I'm
you
going to
get
give
the
you
birds thing yet?
No. Do you have it, Joan?
No.
Something. Okay, so here's the deal. On my computer, it says something went wrong. Try. This is like the theme of today's show. Something went wrong. Try again. That has been the theme of today's show.
Well, don't worry. I'll break down what happened with the birds on my show.
Yeah, you know what? You can play it. There is a professional tease.
It's very, very stunning what happened.
Did he get pooped on? Did Peter Doocy get pooped on?
He got attacked.
He literally got attacked.
Yeah, you should see it.
On live TV.
Peter Doocy got attacked on live TV
by a Chinese bird. Had to be a Chinese bird.
Chinese bird.
Had to be.
So I have the video, but it's going to take a second to get to that.
What's up, Stefano?
Stefano.
We're on the radio. So we're on.
It's live. Mics are live. Can you tell him where I am to wave to me back here?
So you got to put on the headphones. So have you? Now I got to ask this: have you ever been on the radio?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, like in a radio studio. Chris, we would fix his headphones. Yeah. You know, we try to get you some good headphones, but unlike television, we have no budget in radio.
We have no budget for employees.
We were like, do we have any good headphones? We go, no, but we have these ones.
That's all right. Whatever works, right? Get things going.
All right, so okay. So Joan is over there.
Hi, Stefano. I'm way back here.
Oh, how are you?
Hi.
And that's KGB, and that's Chris. He hosts 9 to 12.
Awesome.
And I do the morning show.
Great.
And it's so weird to see. I'm usually looking up there to see you, and now you're like right there.
Now I'm here. It's a real person, right?
Yeah. Now will you fix his microphone? Get him closer to the microphone. There we go. All right. So can we hear about your traffic accident?
Oh,
was it your fault?
I don't know whose fault it was.
Okay.
Oh, that's not a good story.
I was going to say the other person is going to say it was your fault.
It's 14th and Broadway. Those two lanes that turn at the same time. And the slightest kiss, if you will, of one side and one side. I mean, and that's pretty much it. So I traded barely a little paint.
Okay, and so when you got into the accident, did they say, "Hey, are you Stefano DiPietro?"
No, that did not happen.
Okay. Now, did you hear me earlier call you Stefano?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good.
Why didn't you put it
It was actually KGB.
Merv, moving on.
I've been called everything in the book, so you're good.
I'm sure you. Okay, so when you're like a weather person, which you are, And Emmy nominated, by the way, weather person. Congratulations for that. That was great.
Thank you.
I try to kiss the butts of the guests that come in, so thank you for that.
I understand that.
Do you get a lot of hate if you get the forecast wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Do you really?
Of course. Even if it's, the slightest bit wrong.
Well, because Chris yesterday said that weather people have a lower approval rating than Congress. Is that true?
Why'd you say that, Chris?
I said it because it was factual.
I think that's more of a personal preference.
Actually, do you know, I was actually surprised that if you grok approval ratings for weather people such as yourself, Stefano, you folks actually have a very good track record. I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that either. This is the first I'm hearing.
You can use it in your next contract negotiation.
I always get the it's the only job you can be wrong 50% of the time and still keep your job.
Sure. There you go. All right. So do you get jealous of the California weather people that actually have no weather to report on whatsoever?
No.
No?
You ever do a forecast? Well, probably not, but a whole week of sunny and 70 and 8, it's boring.
Boring.
Not that I want severe weather all the time or a snowstorm all the time, but if the weather's not changing, it's boring. Yeah, it'd be boring out there.
That's exactly right. Now, you're from Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And you're a hockey fan.
Yes.
Now,
Flyers?
Flyers, Phillies.
Thank you.
Eagles.
That's rough. See, you guys.
Go Birds.
One out of
listen, just so we're clear, Chris says birds don't exist.
Birds aren't real.
Oh. You'll have to talk to my wife.
Have you heard about that? Is she in on that? Is she in on the birds?
I wouldn't say in on it, but I would say she's the conspiracy theorist in the DiPietro household.
All right, perfect.
So she fills me in on everything.
She should join the Red Pilled Moms Club. We have a fan club for Red Pilled Moms.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It is clear, Stefano.
He said interesting.
I get that a lot in my house too. Actually.
Yeah, I'll definitely tell her not to hang out with you, actually.
All right, so what is your favorite? Our time has been cut short because you were in a car accident. You've got to come back on Monday.
I'll come back.
All right, so would you really?
Yeah. Whenever you want.
Now I don't know what to say.
I'm a phone call away.
Okay.
Dan's stunned.
All right, so I don't want to hog up all the time, but what is your favorite kind of weather to cover?
Well, I've always loved snow when I was in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's a little bit more of a nightmare to cover. Always loved thunderstorms ever since I was younger. Tropical storms have always been it's actually the reason I got into weather. Hurricanes, tropical storms. So that was always the one thing that I loved to cover no matter what market I was in.
Okay. Now, when I was a kid, I don't remember the brand, but I had a little weather kit when I was like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Did you have one of those? Is that how you started? Because I had mine, and I could never predict the weather.
You know what? I never did. I never had one of those. My mom was in a Category 5 hurricane when I was in 6th grade.
Wow.
That's what got me into weather. Trapped in Mexico, 14 days. No, this is flip phones.
Yeah.
So you lost service if you strayed too far out of town. So, no contact with her for 7 days. We had no idea what happened to her.
Now, do you get jealous of the Weather Channel people that get to stand out in the middle of a hurricane and report the weather while they're holding on to a light pole or something?
Absolutely not. If I did that, somebody would come and snag me out of there, whether it's my mother or my wife. Somebody would see me out there and come drag me back.
Do you have any weather heroes like Jim Cantori or whatever?
I've always loved Jim Cantori.
He's awesome.
How can you not?
Well, we always know that we're in trouble. Do local weather people feel like this, where if there's going to be a storm and Jim Cantori is coming, you know that it's going to be bad?
Absolutely. If Jim Cantori comes to your town and all the storm chasers are lining up in your town, something is going to happen.
Yeah.
If you want to know how bad the weather is going to be, besides watching local news, follow the storm chasers.
Yep.
The men, the women, they are immaculate forecasters. I cannot give them enough credit. They are so good at picking up where the worst of the weather is going to be that if you follow the storm chasers, you'll know where the worst of the weather is.
What do you think about a majority of these YouTubers that are storm chasers? Do you guys look at them and kind of thumb your nose a little bit and be like, you're not real meteorologists?
It's dangerous for them. Some of them are real meteorologists. I know storm chasers that are real meteorologists I went to college with. There are a lot of weather enthusiasts out there that do that. As long as they're doing it safely, I don't have much of an opinion on what they do.
Have you ever chased?
No, I never have.
Do you want to?
No.
Really? I find that interesting. But you just said it's dangerous.
It's
So-
dangerous. I know that I don't have the expertise in that to keep myself out of harm's way. I would rather be able to tell people where harm's way actually is and be in the studio than have to chase myself.
Can I get a real question in here?
Yeah. Yes.
Stefano, you're coming up on your 1-year anniversary?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. And what's your wife's name?
Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany. We're happy to have you as a listener.
Oh, yeah. I think her whole company's listening right now.
Oh, that's cool. What company?
eSpaces is what it's called.
Okay.
It's a co-working company because they actually heard about my accident through here.
So,
Are you serious?
wait. So your wife,
I'm so sorry.
found out you got in a car accident on this show?
No, I called her as soon as it happened.
Okay, good. That's the important one.
And I said, "Hey, honey, just got in a fender bender. Everything's okay."
We don't know whose fault it is.
It's major breaking news on the radio. Don't worry about
Listen,
it.
Yeah.
I was always told to just not say anything.
There you go.
Yeah.
I like that.
So
you definitely are from Philly.
Love that. Yes.
What is the best thing about being a weather person?
it's not the TV, believe it or not. It's not that. You would think it's that, but it can get so stressful very, very quickly. I mean, the last couple of weeks were
it's crazy.
Were crazy. You know, with the schedule, the lack of sleep, and the entire weather team did tremendous. Lisa, Dan, Melanie, everyone that we work with. I mean, reporters and anchors came in from off their shift on the weekends. They were all wonderful. Best thing about it is getting to see how the weather evolves day in and day out and week in and week out. I mean, around here, the weather changes so quickly. It's never boring. It's always interesting. And that's kind of the one thing in this market that's probably the best thing about it.
What other markets have you been in?
Wilkes-Barre.
Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Wilkes-Barre. Oh,
Wilkes-Barre,
nice.
Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And that was it. And then moved to Nashville 4 years ago today.
There you go.
4 years
Happy
ago
end.
today.
Wow.
So it's like
Today's
two
the
anniversaries.
11th?
It is like
your
two.
wedding anniversary, apparently, 1 year, and you married a Tennessee girl.
I did.
Look
and
at you.
Everyone always told me, you're going to find your Tennessee girl.
Do you know what?
They're sweeter down here.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I got here and I married a Tennessee girl too.
Did you really?
I did.
Wonderful.
I did. Yeah. I divorced a Boston girl, but then I married her.
But we don't have to go there.
I always go south, don't I?
Yeah.
I always go
Why
south.
bum everyone out?
Anyway, whatever. Moving right along. Anybody else got any questions? We have like 2 minutes left. I feel robbed.
What?
I know.
We don't.
Robbed? You
I didn't
feel
get
robbed?
I didn't get all my Stefano DiPietro time.
Well, then why are you ceding time?
Isn't it National Pet Day or something? You have a couple of dogs that you actually bring on set with you sometimes.
Yeah, we have 2 golden doodles. We have Ellie and Charlie. Charlie comes on set with me all the time.
Yeah.
I
And-
had a dog named Charlie too.
Oh, wait a
really?
minute. We forgot the whole reason for having Stefano DiPietro come down. Who is going to confront him about telling us what to wear every day?
Oh,
my gosh.
Listen,
Every day. Every day.
Every day is like, well, Stefano says we should wear long sleeves, but I want to wear short sleeves.
at some point, it comes down to personal preference. It does. There's people that are 30 degrees in shorts and flip-flops, and then there's...
Ken Weaver.
Yeah. A lot of it is just more for, moms are running around so much in the mornings. If they're, trying to get the kids together, there's a school project that was done at the last minute. The last thing you don't have to worry about is that. So it's just, so you can hear.
So you're throwing the moms a bone. It's like, moms, here's what you put on your kids.
Yeah, I think it makes it easy. Just if you're running around. I know a lot of moms put stuff out the night before, which is wonderful. But if you can't,
do you ever get thank you notes from moms saying thank you for telling me how to dress my children every day?
I've never gotten one. I've gotten thank you notes for telling moms and dads and everyone what to do after school, if they can take the kids to the park or not.
Okay.
Got it.
Oh, there you go.
So there's the what to wear forecast and what to do after school forecast.
Yep.
I think it's so amazing that you came down here, and I very
love
much
it.
appreciate it. And one last question for me, and then you guys can have one. But do you like or hate tornado coverage? Like we do our own stuff here, and for me, it's like I hate it, but I like it. I like it because we're helping people and all that kind of stuff. But it's just so stressful.
It is stressful, and I'll tell you that I do love it, and mostly love it because I know that what we're doing is making somewhat of a difference.
Yep.
There is a level of adrenaline that goes through you when you're on air in the middle of a tornado warning, and this goes for every meteorologist I've ever talked to. you are so locked in and focused in that time frame that once you get off air and you're done for the day or the night or whatever it is, there is a level of crash that happens after that. Because all the adrenaline rushing through your body, you're done after that.
Yep.
Yeah. But this past couple of weeks, there never was a time to relax.
Joan, quick, what do you got?
I'm just so fascinated with the fact that you're here and that you came down so willingly, and we really would have you again if you would do that.
I'll come back whenever you want.
Yeah? Okay.
Monday? We'll see you Monday?
Yeah. What do I have going on Monday?
We could make it like a Friday thing. Have you come down every Friday?
What should we wear?
What is Monday's 80? Listen,
all right.
probably shorts.
Chris, what do you got? Anything?
Hurricanes or tornadoes? Which would you rather cover?
Tornadoes.
KGB?
Easily.
Quick.
So when you do like a tornado coverage and you actually have to duck and cover in your area, do you still manage to do the news, manage to get a quick weather update before you have to get into cover, or do you just care about the cover first?
No, normally it's safety first. So if we need to get into cover, and they just did this at the station, Lisa and Dan did it. They went into cover while they were doing the tornado on air. The whole station is essentially a big tornado shelter. It's just the studio is not exactly, within a bunch of different walls, but almost there's about 5 or 10 rooms outside of the studio alone that are tornado shelters. So
wow, that's pretty cool.
Wow, yeah.
All right, very good. Stefano DiPietro, thank you so much for coming down. It's so cool that you came down.
Whatever you guys want, seriously.
Donuts?
Off air.
Well, you're our news partners, and we love
want.
having you, so yeah.
I'm going to hit you up for something after we get off the air. I want to know if when news is break, because remember, he just said anything you guys want. And he frowned at donuts and croissants.
I don't like this.
You don't know what you're asking.
So when weather is breaking, will you call, not breaking, but when we've got severe weather coming in, can you we can call you and you can give us the whatnot as opposed to just a quick little 15, 20 second thing?
Let's see what I can do. I'll have my people talk to your people.
Okay, very good. I wish I had
think we have people.
Again, this is radio. People are not in the budget. All right, got to go. 8:57 WTN.